Welcome to the SNR Podcast, where freedom for the mind, body, and soul takes center stage. We're here to break down the system, expose the truth, and inspire real change. From the state-national movement to uncovering how the government's just a corporation, to diving deep into the Federal Reserve's hold over the world, we're here to give it to you straight. But it's not just about exposing corruption. We're also bringing you the tools to heal with meditation, breath work, and natural healing practices that help elevate your life. We're loud, we're edgy, and yeah, we're funny as hell. Steve's got jokes, Kenny's got the research, and Ashley's keeping us organized, while Gwen's here to inspire both the young and the wise. This is the SNR Podcast.
Yeah, it keeps me loose.
Absolutely.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta say, this is one of the shows that I have long waited for, is to get somebody from this industry, this vertical, with this legal background onto the show to kind of make sure that Kenny and I, when we inevitably do go to prison for tax evasion, we have someone that's there to help us out.
Terrible.
So with that being said, I am your host, Steve. Oh, by the way, I was given a nickname at work. They're calling me Steve the Party Bardi. So, Kenny, if you want to run with that, because I'm
all right.
I like that. Steve's a party.
That's fun. Yeah. It's all fun and games until you need bail money. So it is. I'm your host, Steve. I'm here with the sultry, the sexy, the hairy Kenny Plaster, and our esteemed guest, Mr. Jude Cisneros.
Jude the dude.
So, Jude,
cool.
Please say hello. Listen, I told a lot of people about this. I bragged about you coming onto the show the same way I bragged about when my wife said yes when I asked her to marry me. So you have...
Man, I'm not sure where to put that right now.
There's a bar you're going to have to meet today.
I guess so, man. Hey, Jude Cisneros, happy to be here. So I've been looking forward to this day as well. Ever since Steve and I connected, wow. Just a lot of synchronicities, and really pleased to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Nah, please, thank you. We're delighted to have you. We're excited to get into some nitty gritty, and I'm sure. You know what I didn't want to do, and part of me regrets it. I initially thought that I would grab a bunch of questions from viewers and listeners, but I have a feeling the show will flow in a manner where they're going to get those answers anyway. So I tend to extract a lot of information from people and other things, but that's another podcast altogether. So with that being said, so Jude is a longtime practicing lawyer and the founder and general counsel of the Center for the Protection of Inherent Rights, better known as CPIR. He received his undergraduate degree in 1994 from the University of New Mexico in his hometown of Albuquerque, and his JD, which is his Juris Doctorate, in 1997 from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I was telling Kenny before, you and my former boss went to the same college, so I know you're good people right out of the gate. The views that are expressed in today's show, Jude's opinions, and they are Jude's opinions and his opinions alone, and they are not to be attributed in any way to CPIR or any other organizations which may be affiliated. This is strictly for educational and entertainment purposes. Let's get the disclaimer right out of the way.
Right on. I like that.
So, Jude, I know I sent you over the outline things we were going to discuss tonight. And listen, we can go in any direction that you want. I just figured when I put the questions together, I figured these would be a lot of the similar questions that people in our situation would have. Probably some things you've encountered throughout your career anyway. But what I'd really like to know is this. Obviously, you chose to go to school. You went to law school. You wanted to be a lawyer. With that, you must have had some intention or desire. You know, there's a level of income that comes with that. There's a comfortability with life, but you obviously have a passion inside of you to help people. Was there anything that stood out to you in your time in law school that put this into the back of your head? Was there something what prompted you to get to where you are today with CPIR? And do you find that it helps coalesce, it works well with your law degree, or do you find yourself kind of at odds with yourself at times because of what you were taught and what you now do? I mean, what you do on top of being a bar accredited lawyer. Please, I'd love to hear this.
Listen, there's definitely some dissonance in the whole thing, but let's start with the trajectory of how I even got into it. law school wasn't something I planned, brother. I sort of stumbled upon it because I was a good student, made great grades, excelled pretty well in high school and stuff. I was into athletics, but it was mostly because I was trying to get approval. I'm the youngest of 7 kids, and shit rolls downhill, man. So you learn early how to pick your battles. I had some tough brothers and sisters, wonderful people. I love them, but it was kind of an interesting dynamic in our home, and we were all within 10 years of each other, so very compressed time frame. Justice was very much a matter of personal, desire for me. It wasn't sort of like this, man. I really want to advance and advocate for the rights of free peoples everywhere. It was mostly about, hey, Jude's got to learn to defend himself, and I'm going to also use, law. But law school really did fall into my lap. It was not planned, and eventually I embraced it. I actually started out in the School of Architecture thinking, I really love building and creating things, but it was more like a hobby, building my dog's doghouse, among other things, not really architecture per se. I didn't learn that until I got into college. But as it turns out today, there's a lot of architecture in what I do, because as a lawyer, some of the business and estate planning that I do, including formation of the 501c3 church with the 508c1a mandatory exemption status, it's all about architecture, creating constructs and vehicles for people to exit the system. Mm-hmm. But getting back to law school, totally big stuff. I think it's incumbent upon us to take our training, our education, and figure out an exodus from the system, because this system it's corrupt, and we know that. But getting back to the idea of law school, what you learn in law school is not the stuff that I'm practicing today. Mm-hmm. Like it took me 15, 20 years to really tap into the vein that I'm in right now, sort of. Because it's not taught in law school, just like medical doctors in westernized medicine don't learn holistic medicines, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Same thing for lawyers, man. So when I first came to these movements, there was a lot of hating, if you will, on lawyers, on attorneys. I refer to myself as a lawyer because I advocate on behalf of my clients. Attorneys, you could say, attorn property from individuals or from the personal into the over to the state. I'd prefer to just refer to myself as a lawyer instead.
I'm very happy that you made that distinction, because that's something we've talked about on previous shows. Is something that we talk about with prospective members, things like that. So to hear it from someone in your profession just gives that credence and that validation to what we're putting out there for our members. So thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, and I think language is important. They use dog Latin all the time, but to try and make us stumble. I mean, I'm talking about the system. We'll talk about the Babylonian system today. I know you got that on the radar, Steve, right on the outline. But none of the stuff that I'm doing today was taught to me in law school. The principles, the foundation, procedure, etc., contract law, yes. But focusing in on what is quintessential to constructing an ability for people to emancipate from the system. And I mean emancipate, literally. Like, that shouldn't offend anybody, because we are all debt slaves to the system until we can break free. Mm-hmm. Whether it's the tax or your fucking ability to run your own life in the private without people lording over you. And how do we do that? Yeah. So, law school, there's some dissonance there, because I don't fit in today with most lawyers. I mean, look at me, for crying out loud. I went through corporate America. I've been a high-rise law firm. I've been in a multinational firm. I've been a partner at these places. I've hung out my own shingle, and now I'm back to square one, breaking away from the system because I believe in it. But the problem is there's not a lot of folks that I can say are my colleagues that I get to sort of bounce ideas off of in this space. So it's a little bit disorienting at times.
Well, it's got to be, you're going against the system. And you and I talked about this when we first met. Anytime you step outside of like the regimented life and corporate structure, of taxes, working. Like once you step outside of that, you find out very quickly who your real friends are, who actually believes in you. And you have to have the fortitude to actually stand up and believe in yourself, because this is a very daunting task, whether you're going through what we do here at State Nationals Rock, whether it's doing something along your lines. You have to, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, but you have to unlearn everything that you've been taught, and you have to chip away at that indoctrination. What I see a lot of people do is they kind of skip the entire book, and they want to go directly to the test and get all the answers. I'm not saying you can't do it. What I believe you're skipping is the ability to stand on your own 2 feet, to stand on your freedom, to understand your rights rather than your privileges. I think when you said 15 to 20 years, you've been on this adventure of yours, this quest. I genuinely believe that, because Kenny, what am I coming into 4 or 5 years? I think with you guys, somewhere around there, 2021, I think. But it's every day you learn something new, and for me. I think that for me, the easiest thing to do, because I'm a people person, is to engage in these conversations. So for you to engage in this conversation with what you would call your peers in your respected vertical, they don't want to hear this shit. They don't want to hear that you're fighting the same machine that you're educated and sworn to protect and serve. So it's got to be very isolating on your end. It has to be very I would say scary when you first get started, because you don't know how people are going to react. And then
absolutely.
And then the very same judges that your job is to represent your clients, these very same judges, you may be playing in their court one day, and then they may catch you the next week and you're playing in your court. So it's got to be a very fine line, and you really have to commit yourself, I would imagine, to this lifestyle. So one, I commend you for that. And two, thank you. And I really can't say this enough. Thank you so much for even entertaining my email, which Kenny, I told you the funny email where I pretended like I was flirting with him, and that's what made him respond.
Terrible.
Terrible.
Good job.
He left out digits, making me search him out.
Yeah, exactly.
He's hilarious.
I'm
He'll
an
get your
Italian Leo.
interest.
I need to feel needed. This is how I do it. I manipulate people.
Oh my gosh, you're
terrible.
So tell us a little bit about when you went to law school. What is it you learned in law school in terms of the Constitution in correlation to how you view it and how you use the Constitution in CPIR? Is there a difference, or can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. You could take a con law course before you ever go to law school, and it's a great way for anybody thinking about should I go to law school or not. What I would recommend is take a con law course. Take a course in constitutional law. You can do it as an undergrad, or you can just subscribe for a service that provides a con law course and go through 6 weeks, 9 weeks of a course like that, and it'll tell you a lot about constitutional law. And it's a very good course, especially if it's taught well. Another important course is like real property law, because the system, the Babylonian system, as I will refer to it over and over today, likes to hold its real property and its money, right? So real property is important to understand the mechanics of. But what I found in law school is that the real courses that I learned from were the hands-on trial advocacy courses, where you're being taught by professors that actually are not really professors full-time, they're litigators full-time. And they come into the classroom to teach a course on how to try a case, how to take depositions, things like that. So that those trial courses were great. But a lot of law school is about training lawyers, new attorneys, if you will, how to think like a lawyer. And it gets its message across. But so much of the system is designed to train compliance. So it's sort of a mind bender, because yes, you learn the law by the book, but the way the law is designed to coalesce in your law school education is to teach you how to keep your clients out of trouble, out of harm's way. Well, if the whole system is bent on taxation and Internal Revenue Code and all these other things, that the compliance metrics, if you will, it's teaching you to constantly plug your clients back into the system. So it's antithetical. It's like completely countercultural to do the types of things that I'm doing today, which is to say, I mean, I literally counsel my clients all the time. Hey, come out of the system. Like we don't need to be tethered to the state. You don't need to incorporate yourself as an LLC or a C Corp, S Corp partnership, all these other things where you go to the Secretary of State for your state, register, right? What is registration? Registration is simply jurisdiction. You're conferring jurisdiction onto the state for your private affairs. So that's why they want you to register. In any event, this whole idea, I counsel my clients all the time. Come out of the system. We can create unincorporated associations for you, which are not tethered to the state. Operate those entities inside of a trust. Trust can own real property. They can own business interests. They can own all kinds of things. Let's run that operation inside of a trust. And now you're cooking with propane, right? There are different ways of doing things. But again, the dissonance is, this is not like really encouraged in law school. It's not encouraged, frankly, among lawyers, because lawyers are so beholden to what you were talking about earlier, Steve, which is like, hey, man, do I want to risk a bad reputation in front of this judge? Yeah, you're right, bro. Like I have to harden myself going downtown to the courts or making any appearance in court. And I don't do a lot of that anymore. Like I'm a tried and true litigator. I've been litigating for 28 years. And I try and limit my litigation practice now. But I got to show up in front of those judges. I got these other lawyers seeing a guy with a law firm called Center for the Protection of Inherent Rights. Imagine what kind of, gravel that puts in other lawyers' mouths. Like, who does this guy think he is? Inherent rights. Fuck that. He's already my enemy. Right. So I already know I don't have a lot of friends out there, so I don't give a damn. But most lawyers, most attorneys are in a law firm. The law firm doesn't want them to make waves. They're on a partnership track. The law firms say, hey, it's really important for us to have a good reputation in front of the judge, so don't make some stupid novel argument. Well, so again, everything that I'm doing is countercultural, and none of it was really something that I absorbed through law school, other than the great teaching courses that I had in trial advocacy.
Yeah, I like I said, one of the reasons I asked that question is it wasn't on the outline, but it just, this is what I like about having these conversations, because it kind of jogs, thoughts in my head. But I was going to say, it has to be very, very, very lonely doing what you're doing, which to me, I don't see. The second you propose the idea of removing yourself from this Babylonian system, keeping your money, creating that generational wealth, or at least being the match to start the flame to create some generational wealth for your family and your lineage, I don't know who wouldn't want to at least entertain that conversation. And I got to say, Kenny, to your credit, to you and Ashley and Gwen, when I first started this process, Jude, I started under, can I say her name on here? I started
you can say whatever you want.
All right, I started under Anna von Reitz. That's how I discovered this process. Fine, I don't want to say, and I learned a lot. It gave me the foundational knowledge to reach out and to have a better educated conversation with Kenny. But there seemed to be so many things that were being left on the table. It felt like a very clunky, uncoordinated, non-streamlined process. That's the value. When I accidentally stumbled upon Kenny's video on Telegram, what he was saying, it was like a light bulb went off. I'm like, this is exactly what I've been missing. The reason I bring this story up is that I am utterly shocked that with a lawyer or an attorney in your world, in your state, with the level of income you could potentially make, why would you be willing to hand over 35-40% of that to the government, who's done absolutely nothing for you? Why wouldn't you at least entertain the conversation? Now, I understand, like I have several friends who are waiting for this podcast. They're business owners, whether it's in construction. I did look at some of the verticals you work with. I noticed construction was on there. I live in a very blue-collar state in Rhode Island. A lot of these guys, their biggest fear is, if I go this route, if I become a national state citizen, however you want to refer to it. And I know that's not what you advocate for. I know what you're doing is separate from that, but there is some cross-pollination.
There is.
So what a lot of my friends are hesitant about is the fear of the IRS is primary. Secondary concern would be, well, if I move everything into a trust, How do I buy property? How do I buy equipment for my company? How do I do this? How do I do that? Now, what I watched in your hour-long video is how you separate each entity within the trust. So we'll get into that a little bit later. So I just, that was something I was not aware of. But to my defense, I'm not a business owner. I didn't look that deep into it. Kenny, we've had this conversation multiple times. My Achilles heel is I have an employer. So I don't spend a ton of time trying to understand this piece. So I find your 1 hour video was absolutely fascinating. And I do believe there are some differences between the way you do things and Kenny, the way you are currently doing things. But with your, Kenny, you guys are starting that new website. So you're creating different types of trust.
It's not exactly different. Now, the state national part is different, but how we create the 508s is exactly probably the same, because the structure is set up just unincorporated, separated from the state. And we first started when they did the COVID lockdowns. We had a salon with 5 employees, and we converted it to the private and shut all the public side down, switched it all over to private, put everybody under private contract. And that was our first experience. And that's exactly how we kind of jumped into it, because they locked us down and tried to steal our rights away. So it's like, when they come to take your rights, that's when people start to stand up. So they like create their own enemies as they're doing these atrocities to us. And when I saw that, I have friends that are lawyers, and when we went on this journey, they cut us off. And I had one lawyer guy that I've known forever, and he got my sister off a charge back in the day. Really good one too. I made a video about it. She'd be so pissed if she knew I told what she did. All she did was beat up a girl, and he disposed the actual victim on the stand and got her to admit to all these boys she slept with. Pissed off the jury so much that the jury favored my sister and disregarded the law, and they nullified the law and found her not guilty. And the girl was beat up bad, and she's like, she did it. So I had a lot of experiences about constitutional things.
Embarrassed about that, man. She's
like a nice person. She doesn't like to talk about that, because that was like the one time she really did something bad. But her friend slept with her boyfriend, so she was pissed.
So I've been beat up by several women, but I always pay them afterwards. It's part of the role play. So
I always pay them.
Yeah.
So our stuff is similar for the 508s. I know Steve's a wild one.
Hey, like you said, Steve said cross-pollination. Kenny, you're saying the same thing. Like, we have a lot of crossover, and there is no one size fits all. Nor is there are more ways to skin a cat, if you will. All roads lead to Rome. I'm trying to come up with a good analogy, but the idea is, we as, and I don't use this word a lot. Now, I don't use it in my documentation, by the way, either. Sovereign. Mm-hmm. We as sovereigns, because the Bill of Rights stands for this proposition, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their creator, the capital C creator, with certain inalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is a statement as to our sovereign nature. If you're a son or a daughter of the sovereign, the creator, that makes you sovereign. So, like I said, I don't overuse that word, because it's a lightning rod. Nevertheless, the idea that we are sovereign, we can create multiple ways to accomplish very similar or the same objectives. My process is, it's highly unique. I would say it's a hybrid. I've developed a proprietary methodology for how I do it. Nobody else has my unique methodology. Same thing for a lot of the movements that we're talking about, but they in many respects accomplish largely the same objectives, which is to make us free. So there has to be common ground, and there are points of common ground among all the things that we're doing.
So Kenny, one of the things I shared with Jude was I think I sent you a blank copy of the revocation of election that I had used. I sent them a copy of the affidavit of repudiation. So we can get into those afterwards, but I did share some of our the kind of initial documentation of how we get the process started. Jude, I don't know. Did we talk about how we get our passport? Did we discuss that at all or no?
I reviewed your PowerPoint. I think it addressed that.
It did. All right,
and I've got some familiarity with that.
Okay, PowerPoint. That's pretty cool.
Listen, Kenny, I show that PowerPoint. So when I'm talking to somebody having this kind of conversation, I use the PowerPoint like it's like I'm sure you know when people they can't wait to show you pictures of their kids. Okay, I don't have kids, so I pull up a PowerPoint. That's my icebreaker. And by the way, it doesn't work well for foreplay. I've tried, but anyway. So
Oh man,
but the PowerPoint to me, Jude, I told you this would be a lot of fun. So
yes, absolutely. You did tell me that, brother.
the PowerPoint to me is it adds a level of it adds a credence to what I'm trying to tell people. But what it does, and again, I didn't put Jude, that man right there, and his wife and his daughter put that PowerPoint together.
It's powerful, Kenny.
Thank you.
To me, what it does is where most people, when I'm having this conversation, there's one of two things we're talking about. They're either already in some type of legal trouble or they're very intrigued about the IRS piece. I find that it's almost, I don't want to say it's wasting my time. It's wasting their time to not give them the whole picture so they can understand, like, if you want to know where you're going, you have to understand and respect where you've been. So in my opinion, that PowerPoint, and Kenny, I've used that thing probably well over damn near 100 something times already. But I share that with people. I show it to them and I'll go through it with them and tell them, say, listen, this is not like what I'm telling you is not something that was just dreamt up 20, 30 years ago. This has been going on for hundreds of years. This has been embedded in our DNA as a nation. And the only way to actually break away from this is to go down one of these paths. So to me, that PowerPoint is critical because it's a beautiful snapshot of how we got to this point. And I think anyone that just wants to hurry up and jump into this process, whether it's becoming a state national, Jude, whether it's, pulling their business into the private or their wealth into the private, you really have to understand what's the purpose behind this. Like, yes, we all want to save money. But if you can't have even a slightly engaging or intellectual conversation on the topic, and you need to, you're put on the spot, or you're in a position on the side of the road having a traffic infraction conversation, you have to be able to understand what you're talking about. Otherwise, you're just going to make things worse. We've all seen those.
I want to add to that, Steve, that, the PowerPoint, let's talk about that Kenny put together. It goes somewhere. It leads somewhere. It's got this directionality. And in so much of what, look, I started my journey into freedom in about 2007. And it was my wife that turned me on to like challenging the narrative within the church. We're Christians. We're, sort of believing everything, all the dogma of the church, right? And we even call it church, and we think that's the church. Dude, I tell my people, we're the church. This is church. Yes. What we're doing right now is edification. This is exactly
you just power. Punched Kenny right in his G spot by saying that. But keep going.
Yes, because that's what I say.
Yeah, get ready for more, man. But look, we got to deconstruct. Just like I think you were saying earlier, Steve. You got to unlearn all this stuff. Yeah, because it starts everywhere. I mean, it's ingrained in simply every aspect of our culture, our upbringing, our history, the teachings, everything we've been taught to believe. So my journey started in 2007, more or less, with theology. And I started pushing the envelope. I'm reading books. I'm doing all this stuff. Well, obviously, that's going to turn to, vaccinations and, the Twin Towers and the medical industry, the medical mafia, and the creature from Jekyll's Island, right? The Fed, and all this, right? So I'm just telling you, it's happening again, Steve.
If you want to take a quick break so Kenny can change his shorts, we could take a quick break.
But listen, I've been down all those rabbit holes, fellas. Like I've been down all the rabbit holes, and I've been told on numerous times over the last 10 years, and I just stopped trying anymore. How often somebody would find out I'm a lawyer and they'd say, "Oh my God, Jude, wow, you're awake. Oh, that's so exciting. You got to talk to my friend, this attorney, this lawyer out in such and such." And invariably, guys, I fucking wasted 5 years, like hoping beyond hope that, oh, cool, I'm going to talk to somebody that, we can resonate. Maybe we could build something together. I'm sorry, I have not. I'm sure there's some great lawyers out there that are doing some great things, but I have not found anyone that is awake to the same extent as I am. And that's not saying I'm all that. I know who I am, and I'm good at what I do. And I am awake more so than most professionals that I know. I mean, in any industry. However, it's I went down that boondoggle several times where somebody's trying to facilitate an introduction, and then I'm finding out that this lawyer is just sort of like, well, they're not awake, and it's a difficult thing to sort of be in that space. But I've had to say, you know what, it's a waste of my time to entertain that anymore until somebody comes to me and just says, hey, it can show me, and this is something you can know in 10. You can know in about a span of 30 seconds, just like Kenny knew exactly where I'm coming from a moment ago on the G spot. All you have to do is know us. We know the language.
Yeah.
And when you say any one of those and it knocks somebody off their horse, you're just not dealing with somebody that's awake.
No, and it's also depending on the level of uncertainty. Like, so Kenny, I know we've talked about this. Jude, I've had several interactions with extensions of my family, my in-laws, things like that, where I've had people who are absolutely dead set. And to me, it goes, you fall back into that left versus right, red versus blue, Republican, Democrat conversation, and they're still trapped in that. But Kenny, I'm going to toot my own horn with this. I think my specialty is pulling people out of that mindset, even for a short period of time, to at least hear what I want to say. That's really where I excel. And perfect example, this was about 3 summers ago. We were at a cookout, and I don't know, there was maybe, I'll say 30 people there. So I start speaking with a physical therapist about how I no longer pay federal taxes and what the process I went through. So we're having a very good in-depth conversation. He wasn't really on either side of the fence. He was just, guy gets up, goes to work. He's got a wife, kid. His head's buried in his life, fine. But he was very receptive, very curious. So a woman came up to me and she said, now the house we were at was my grandmother's old assistant. My grandmother was a vice president at Con Edison in New York. So her assistant and his husband, when they retired, they moved out of New York. They live in Cranston, Rhode Island. So she walks over to me and she says, hey, she goes, did I just hear you say you don't pay federal income taxes? I said, that's correct, ma'am.
That's correct.
She goes, don't you feel like you're cheating? I said, what would I be cheating on? I said, what would I be cheating on? She says, well, what about the people who need that money? I said, are you referring to the government? What are you talking about? So, and so you could see, I figured out in this moment exactly how I handle these conversations. So she said, at the time, she said, well, what about all the illegal immigrants coming in? And she referred to them as illegal immigrants instead of undocumented. I don't think they came up with that term yet. Then she brought up Ukraine. Then she brought up defending our borders. So I said, okay. I said, I'll tell you what. I said, so now she sits down. Now there's about 4 or 5 of us in a circle. So I said, how about this? I said, why don't you tell me what you think I'm doing incorrectly or where I'm in some type of violation of like societal norms. I said, and then I'll tell you how I got to this point. So she just sat down for about 15 minutes and she just spat off like, CNN talking points, one after the other after the other. So as soon as she was done, now there's about 10 or 12 people sitting around. But by the time this is done, we had moved outside and all 30 people were sitting around. It's like we were playing spin the bottle, but talking about taxes. So I said, well, how about this? I said, before we get into this, I said, let's just establish that we have some commonalities here. I said, can we both agree? And she was a Latino woman from Westchester, New York. So she was a Superior Court clerk in Westchester County. I said, let's just agree on a few things. I said, so this is not such a combative conversation. I said, can we both agree that every human being deserves clothes on the back, a roof over their head, food on the table, and the ability to provide for their families should they choose to? She says, yes, of course. I said, then let's just hold on to that. I said, and I'll move forward. And then I explained the process to her. And then I educated her about where the federal income taxes really go and this and that, whatever. I spoke for about 45 minutes straight. I went through 3 bottles of water. I think I peed myself a little bit at one point because I was holding it in. And then, so finally, when it was done, she asked me for my contact number, my email, and asked me if she has clients, Latino clients in Westchester County, New York. She's like, they would really benefit from this. I said, I agree with you. I said, everyone who wants to own themselves and live within their own freedoms and their own rights, I said, should know about this. But she had the same questions. She goes, I've seen people like you, referring to sovereign citizens, come into my car all the time, talking at the judge. They think they know everything. I said, yeah, but I said, there's no need for me to do that. She goes, no, that's my point. She says, if everyone came into court as eloquent and as articulate as you just were, she goes, the judges would be much more open to hearing you and before they just kind of throw you out of the court and fine you in contempt.
Yes, they do.
I learned in that moment several years ago exactly how to handle those engagements. So it's where there's a lot of people who are closed-minded. So when you mention there are some people that are just not worth your time, for me, I love those people. I love it because to me, it's like a challenge because it really is. Like, look, we've all encountered, whether you want to refer to them as left or right or liberals, whatever, we've all encountered those people who are so emphatically right. They don't want to hear anything. They'll threaten you with violence.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoy.
Yeah. No, that's no good.
No. And it's a waste. Where I think my specialty lies is I like those people because I have a very unique way to establish common ground and just de-escalate everything. That's what I'm good at. So, when you tell me that there's attorneys and things like that, like in your wheelhouse, like people that are in your world, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, fuck, man, give me 5 minutes with these people. I would love to just talk to them. I like the assholes. I like the difficult customers.
That's awesome. I think it's your temperament. I think you got that sort of unique gift. Like we all got gifts, right?
Yeah.
Mine is not what you just described. Like I don't have time to date, but I'll tell you, it's an influence of my environment as well. Because think about it from my perspective. Like I'm in the trenches fucking most of the time.
Yeah.
I'm mostly in the trenches because I'm against these assholes that don't believe my clients have the rights that they are asserting, or other trust and estate lawyers that are like, oh, you can't do that. You can't be an unincorporated entity. You can and do business. You can't be a 508c1. That's not a real thing. You have to register with the IRS and get their approval. Fuck. Okay. I'm trying to clean it up, guys. I don't know
if it's it, Jude. You're welcome. Just let it rip.
Here's the thing. Whether we are state nationals or we are American citizens, I do use that terminology. And I know how, citizen can be equated with the idea of subservience or whatever. But also be aware that citizens have rights, right? Or state nationals have rights. Yeah. All I'm interested in is in that body of guys like us, believers, if you will, that won't allow the fucking system to define us. And that's what the Internal Revenue Code does. That's what state and federal laws do, codes and statutes and all this bullshit. They're all designed to make us comply by it's dog Latin. Yeah. They use it all the time. And we fall into this cycle of saying, well, I guess I'm a U.S. citizen, or I guess I live in a federal territory. Who says they get to define all that stuff? So for me, the important thing is being able to identify ourselves. And there's tremendous power in just being able to understand. Let's not use the definitions of the system to interpret who we are or what we do in this world.
I have a question, Jude.
Yeah.
What do you think it would take to actually change the current system? Because I don't believe that lawyers are bad or judges. I believe the system was structured by the bankers to pin good people against each other so they could never see their way out, using financial corruption and just structuring to kind of just get good people and put them in a position that they can't see over the hill, and they're just enslaving each other. I mean, there's some that do know what's going on, but it seems like the mass majority doesn't. But what do you think is the true catalyst for change? Is it going to be the lawyers, or is it going to be the people that like finally snap out of their slumber and like, hey, let's do something? And they don't have to hate on the people stuck in the system in order to change it. Because if you, like me, see the system for what it is, you see that it doesn't only enslave you, it enslaves them. And once you see that, that brings unity. And that's what I try to propose to people. Like, don't hate on these people. Try to unite them, open their minds. If not, they're a victim as much as you're a victim. And let's like wake up. But Mike, what do you think is going to be the catalyst? Do you think lawyers? I thought lawyers would come together during the lockdown and stand up for us. And I was shocked that they wouldn't. I was like, they're closing small businesses. What? They got to do something. And then my friends, the lawyers, are like, crickets. I was like, bitch, say something. Nothing. I was like, okay, we got to do something. So that's how we started.
It's staggeringly unbelievable how little chivalry there is in like the law, like the practice of law. Like, didn't you get in this for the sake of justice? But it's no different than people getting vaccinations, seeing people die around them and getting boosted and double and triple boosted. Like, what are you thinking? Like, people just check out their brains. So it's always going to be a minority. It's always going to be a small band of brothers and sisters that are going to make change. And we don't need millions upon millions of people. Right now, there are millions of people in this United States of America who are, in fact, like us challenging the income tax, for example, and we should. There's more ways to do it, not just one. So whether it's revocation of election, it's my process, which is just a tax correction protocol. There are other people doing other types of revocations of election, whether from the anti-Von rights groups or whatever. People are incubating these cells all over the country, and they're figuring out ways to take back their freedoms.
Yeah,
but
they definitely are.
This sort of idea of like the mass awakening. Here's how I want to answer that, Kenny. When I first started awakening to all these things, I was watching videos. I'm doing the same thing we're all doing. Like when we start seeing this, you can't unsee it, and you need to see more. You need more and more validation. So you're out looking for YouTube videos and everything you could possibly devour. That was me. But what I found consistently was a lot of guys in this space, they would tell you the problem, but they don't tell you the solution. It's like, that's great. The income tax is unlawful and illegal. What to fucking do about it? Like, right? Like, give me a break. So literally, Steve, I'm telling you the truth, man. I devised a way that doesn't involve revocation of election and affidavits. Revocations of election and affidavits work. They work. I'm telling you singularly. No. I work closely with Weiss and Associates. They were part of my journey, part of my awakening. As all of these rabbit holes that I've been down, all part of my journey. I've awakened through. A lot of it was trial and error, but I devised a methodology where I have a white paper, a legal brief, if you will, that is all law-based. It's just the law. Does the income tax apply to the ordinary citizen? The answer, no. In no uncertain terms. I don't have to tell you who I am, where I was fucking born. I don't have to tell you any of the details of my private life, because that's the whole point. You're the government and you're invading upon the province of my private life. Why would I share any more details with you? Now, that's my own perspective. I'm just telling you there are multiple ways to get it done. My process is totally legal based. But here's the point. The moral of the story is this. We have a lot of people saying, hey, we know this is wrong, that's wrong, and something's wrong with the price of tea in China. Somebody's got to do something about it. And you'll hear people talk at these great speeches and conventions, and they'll say, I'm a former IRS agent, and I couldn't find a law that said you have to pay the tax. Right? Yeah. Unless you're a government officer. Yep. The original revenue laws, 1862, they were passed on officers of the federal government, military, the courts, the president, the Congress, etc. Then that gets changed over time. By 1939, the IRS gets more greedy, Congress gets more greedy, and they pass the Public Salaries Tax Act, 1939. Imagine that's after the 1933 SEC, Act, etc. It's after the Fed was created in 1913. 1939, they finally grab hold of all state government workers. So now it's no longer applicable just to the Fed. It applies to state and local government offices. So what's the point? If you work for the government and you derive income from that, that income is taxable. That is a legitimate tax. It's constitutional, because the Constitution says the Congress can pass two types of law. Tax laws, direct and indirect. The income tax is and always has been and only will ever be an excise tax, which means it's a privilege tax. Why is that so important? Because if you don't work for the federal government or the state government or the local government, you are free. Your earnings don't produce taxable exposure, because under excise law, excise law is tax on the privilege of being in cahoots, if you will, or in work with the government, where you're close to government secrets. Well, for those of us who opt out of that role, I don't want that job. Thank you very much. I'm going to stay in the private. We don't have that privilege. And guess what? Our labor, our work, in whatever capacity is, I don't care how big the corporation is. It is a matter not of privilege. It's a matter of inalienable right. It's a part of our property right. It's sacred. It's sacrosanct. I don't know how I got off on that tangent, fellas. Sorry.
Listen, good. No, this is why I like podcasts, because you could it's like a fucking free. It's like being in a mosh pit of words. It's fantastic.
It's free form for sure. I love it too.
So let me ask you a question. And it never occurred to me to even ask this, but how did you get how did you link up with Weiss and Associates? So I discovered Weiss and Associates literally by accident. I was just doing, but Kenny, I think it was actually before I met you and your family, but I was just digging and digging and digging, trying to find some credence or some validation about this whole income tax theft. And, in my research, I stumbled across Weiss, Paris and Associates. I started going through all their stuff, taking all the free downloads that they offer and just really reading and reading. I'm like, shit, this is good. So how did you come across them? And how did you become one of their, affiliates, so to speak?
Well, I became a client of theirs. I bought their package so I could learn, okay, what is this? They were definitely part of my journey. I sent not a revocation of election. It was a letter to the IRS in 2022 telling them, hey, I figured this out and here's the law and I'm out. Count me out. No affidavit, no what state was I born in, none of that. Just I'm a free man. I'm not subject to this tax. But Weiss and Associates, man, they had so much material. And I went through all their stuff through several other websites and information that was available out in the ether. But that's how I pretty much found them, like you did, Steve. Basically, is Steve still on?
I think he is, but those are good people. I know that before I got a 10-year ban on TikTok, they would always comment. It looks like he fell off. They would always comment and say stuff on the videos. So I always liked them, even though I never knew who they were. And Steve's like, hey, Weiss and Associates. I was like, I know them because we messaged through TikTok before I got banned. But literally, TikTok sent me a 10-year ban because of the content I put out. Because I would take pen cameras in there to court. I would do different stuff. And they do really unique stuff. If they do dismiss your case because you get a good judge that has a heart, because obviously they could just rule against you and let you appeal it. But sometimes you get a good one and he would be like, all right, I'm going to dismiss it. And the prosecutor would be fucking pissed. So they would be like, come to my office. Let me talk to you. And then the judge would have to tell him, look, I dismissed it because fucking why not? He's a good guy. I don't know what they would tell him, but I know that the prosecutors would always be mad and they'd have to call him back.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And be like, let me talk to you. And the judges were cool. If you're cool with them and treat them like with respect, and I really prefer the method of like going in there the right way. So one thing that I really dislike in this field, and I know you're gonna agree, is whenever people are teaching bad shit to people and they go to court, so they get railroaded and nothing works. And I'm just like, why do that shit to people?
Yeah.
It's awful. So I really like the method to see yourself working on the offensive side. If you had to go offensively and work on your own, and I know not everybody has the ability to learn enough to litigate for themselves, especially if you're not educated in it. But if you do it on the offensive side, you'll be more prepared to see the bullshit when they try to teach you crappy stuff on the defensive side. You're like, right inside, it don't work.
It's absolutely true. And, unfortunately, some of it is hard knocks. You got to learn because the claims that are made by some in this field, if you will, and it's so disparate. Like, it's not really a uniform movement, if you will.
Totally.
But there are so many voices in this space, and so many of them sound extremely convincing. But you kick the tires enough, and especially, I got the advantage of being a 28-year litigator. So I'm like, I can smell bullshit when it's around. But this sounds very compelling and interesting. I don't know enough about it because it wasn't taught in law school. Let me kick the tires a bit. Hey, what about this? How about that? And the questions don't get answered unless you have taken the time to refine a process like you guys have done, Kenny, as well as Weiss and Associates, myself. And that takes diligence. It takes applied, diligent, dutiful study and writing and research and all this other stuff. And it's not for everybody. Anybody can pull something off of the internet and sell it off as their own, mix and match. And I've seen a lot of that, people splicing documents together. That's not an effective way to represent yourself. You really need to know more about the process that you're involved in before you put documentation out into the ether.
I like you, Jude. You're a good guy, bro.
Oh, man, I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate what you guys are doing, what you stand for. I love it.
It's a family thing.
Yeah, for sure. I want to go back to one thing that you mentioned, though, a minute ago. What is the catalyst? Like, what gets us there? So regarding lawyers, and anybody, I don't know a lot of lawyers in this space. I actually personally don't know any. Now, I do know some good lawyers that are doing some huge class action litigation and different things, and they're awake on a big level in certain instances. My objective is to enable people, the common man, people like you and me, to just untether from the system, stop using your social security number for everything, put your stuff in trusts, run your unincorporated associations, build a legacy trust for yourself, incorporate a home family church, network it with all the church organizations that I've built. Why? Because we're fucking building a parallel society that will rival Babylon. It will rival the Babylonian commercial system that right now has us mostly enslaved. And until the day that we can actually untether from that system, because we don't need dollar bills anymore, that's all we really need them for. But I don't advocate anarchy. Like, we need the government in existence to be able to provide roads, utilities, whatever. Like, continue to maintain the cities. We obviously need a national defense, and we don't want to be enemy combatants with the system. We don't want to be opposed to it. Like you're saying, it's unnecessary to go into court and be a jerk. You're going to get your ass handed to you.
Bad.
Eventually. So I don't think the awakening is coming through a particular, like lawyers in particular. I happen to be a part of the movement, but I do believe that it's going to be principled people of faith that just believe and know, like, they've taken enough crap from the system. They're tired of seeing the corruption, and they're saying, you know what? I'm at the point where it's no holds barred.
Yeah.
As long as I could kick the tires and make sure that what I'm doing is not stupid, and I know where it's going, and that's an important thing. Like, where does your protocol take us? Where does this process lead us? As long as I can know that, then count me in, because anything is better than watching all these corrupt politicians get off and skate because their sons and daughters and whatever, or people in Hollywood, et cetera, and they don't get criminalized for that. And I'm being harassed because I missed a $10,000 so-called tax payment for quarter three, or I mean, it's obnoxious, the level of depravity that exists in this culture at those upper echelons. But then for the rest of us, like, we're made to bear the brunt of the IRS.
Definitely. No, that's actually seems to be the source of it all. Because when we kept digging and tracking, it seems to be the financial backing that creates it all. So I was like, how did all that happen? Steve, you're back. You're back.
Dude,
about time.
I got a thing popped up on my screen. It said, cannot recognize mic and camera. And then I got booted out. I just had to restart my computer. I had to
Dude, it was doing that to me.
I had to
beginning.
unplug my camera and microphone, plug them back in, reboot a second time, and then it finally recognized. Like, listen. Dude. I spent a decent amount of money on all this shit. A little close to what I spent on my ass implants. I shouldn't have to deal with this stuff. But whatever.
Oh man, I love the comic relief, brother.
No, it's needed in this space.
Oh
Steve.
yeah, for sure. Oh man,
Steve,
we're losing you again.
Man. What the fuck?
Scuba Steve, where'd you go? They put you on the black screen.
Scuba Steve.
What the hell?
From that old movie. I can't even watch movies now that I know these people, what they do. It's pretty sad. But I realize that without those people creating these obstacles for us, we never have a chance to overcome. So as a group of people across the whole world, we come across these obstacles. We have two options. We could see them as, oh, they're so evil, or we can overcome and have a new society of amazing people. And I think that's what we want people to think that way, because we know. I'll tell you something I did, and I figured out what they're doing. One thing, I wrote something to redefine who I wanted to be. And as I was going through this thing, I was having these ideas of how to create it. And I basically started to write what I wanted to be, like maybe just characters or virtues or attitudes. And I just wrote it down. And what I did is I read it 3 times a day, and I had a questionnaire after each time that was short, so it wouldn't annoy me. And then eventually I started to redefine it. And then I put this thing and I started to put it into like a video. And so then I made it into a video, and I thought, man, I better put some music to open the heart, to really fire off the emotions, to make it happen. And I was like, that's what they're doing with the music. That's how the prison industry collaborated with the music industry and filled the prisons. And that's just what they're doing, constantly programming us. And that's something nobody really thinks about, how music programs people to do things. But they put out gangster rap, and next thing you know, 2 million people are in prison.
But Kenny, man, you're talking recent vintage. Go back to 1930, 1940, whenever, I forget what year it was exactly, but the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, changed the code. I'm sorry, changed the frequency from 432 hertz to 440 hertz, or is it megahertz? Whatever it is.
Hertz. It's hertz.
Yeah, okay,
it's
so
hertz.
they change it to create constant dissonance in music.
Yes, definitely. I know exactly what you're talking about.
These guys have been at their craft for millennia.
Yeah.
So if we think we're, sort of like embarking upon something new, and man, this has been in existence. They registered baby Jesus, bro. Think about it. A census was taken. What's a census? It's an exercise of force. It's jurisdiction. And it's recorded in the Bible. Now, okay, I know a lot of people have problems with the Bible. That's all good. It happens to be a source of inspiration for me, because when I look to the scriptures, I'm paying attention to what Christ said, because I think that this man in history, in modern history, I'm not talking about Enlil and Enki and the Emerald Tablets or Sumerian. I know there's a lot of ancient history, but most recently, 2,000 years ago, or more or less, because they probably jammed in a few fake centuries in there, right? Yeah. They certainly turned the Gregorian calendar on us. They should have been 13 months. We should have had 13 months, Steve.
I should only be 43 years old.
And instead, they fucking... Hey, listen, here's what's fantastic about the Bible. Read Daniel. And Daniel tells us in those days, these assholes that are in charge of the Gregorian calendar and Judeo-Christianity, which is not really a thing, it's an oxymoron. But all these constructs, these people that are in control, they have changed the times and the seasons is the key word. I think it's in Daniel 9. And Jesus in his time talked about the law and the prophets. Like, the prophets were an important component of what his message was. Isaiah in particular. I take my inspiration from Isaiah. Isaiah 40 verse 3. Make straight a way in the wilderness, a straight path in the deserts for our Lord. That was a precursor to John the Baptist, who was the forerunner to Christ. I see myself much as a John the Baptist. Like, I'm telling people, there's a fucking better way. We do not have to be enslaved to the system. My imagery for CPIR, if you've ever seen it, is a lighthouse on a rock with the ocean over to one expanse, and then on the other side, a narrow road leading to a path a path leading to like a tiny village nestled in the mountains, the foothills of mountains that you can see in the distance. What the symbology means this: the lighthouse is me. I'm telling people there's a better way to live. Come out of the sea. The sea is the dragon of the biblical lore, if you will. The dragon takes people under. It's indebtedness, it's slavery, it's bondage, it's Babylonian trickery to keep us constantly underwater, right?
Yeah.
So the lighthouse is pointing the way. It's built upon the rock. The rock is Christ, whose message is, we are not unidimensional beings that are subject to commerce. We are spiritual, eternal beings, and your Father loves you. There's a greater purpose to your life than just working for the system. And then, of course, he is the path that leads to this better way of life. Outside of being buried underwater, lost at sea, right? All these terms pulled up to the docket inside, with whatever, all the birthing canal and all this other bullshit. Yeah. It's all the trickery that maritime law uses to keep us enslaved. And my objective is to, sort of help pull us out of that construct. And, going back to this idea of what we didn't learn, in the last 10 years, we've seen a lot of great things happen in this movement. A lot of people with understanding about, this is wrong and that's wrong, but what to do about it. And really, my objective is to help us, through the law, gain a foothold to be able to establish ourselves as free people again, outside of the scope of the IRS law, among other things. And it's all legit. It's all defensible legally.
So I missed it.
On Jude.
I know Jude the dude. I assume we've all seen The Big Lebowski with Jeff Bridges. Okay.
Yes, Big Lebowski
Jude,
was
the
awesome. Dude, where's
the
my
dude abides.
what does he say? What's
The dude abides. Listen, Jude,
the
the dude.
abides?
All right, listen, Kenny,
Oh.
I know you're not a big movie guy. If you haven't seen The Big Lebowski, do me a favor, roll a nice joint tonight and
No,
watch it.
it's-
It's worth it. All right.
That's
You
it,
know,
man.
So I'm sorry. I don't know what my for some reason my microphone and camera keep getting unrecognized. So it booted me. Were you guys touching on? So
We're trying to hold it together without you, brother. What's
yeah,
going on?
Yeah, we're definitely
So
not as funny.
I'll say this. Unlike other aspects of my life, I pulled out too quick. Okay, moving on. So let's just say this. So I'm going to go and say, so Jude, one of the questions I had for you was, you referred to this as a Babylonian system, and it sounds like I kind of walked in a little bit on what you just. So, is that what you guys were covering for the most part? Because I'm curious to see.
No.
All right,
No,
all right, perfect.
go over it. You could.
I'd love to talk about Babylon and why
Please.
I call everything that is commerce that is, sort of governed by governments today. I call it commercial Babylon because coinage was first made in Babylon circa 2000, 3000 BCE, whatever. So the first coins were minted way back then. Okay, now other cultures might say, no, we came up with it first. I don't care. There is some literature that indicates the first coinage where minted coins were first in use in Babylon. Well, it's very curious to me that not only is that a true historical fact, and that became the institution, the first sort of underpinnings of slavery, like what is modern day slavery. People could not pay for their stuff, so they start using coinage because they can't even afford to buy land, among other things. And now you've introduced a monetary system, which is not natural, by the way. A monetary system, currency, is not natural to the natural order, to the natural law, if you will. Look at the wilderness, look at the animals, the plant life. They don't exist on an economy. Economies are fake
I want to ask a quick
constructs.
question because I never looked into this, but something you just said just made me ask this question. Do we know if the Amish community, do they just barter or do they have a currency that they use? No, I'm serious because
they do use U.S. dollars, and they pay. Some of them have to pay taxes. Not all of them get a
even
free
within
ride.
their own community, they.
But it's a great question, Steve, because I think among themselves in their communities there is a barter system.
They
That's
probably
what I'm
do
getting
barter.
at, because a lot of times when I explain this situation to people who this is a completely foreign idea, I say, well, listen, this is very similar to what the Amish have done to separate from society, as well as like the sovereign nations for tribal land. I'm like, it's on par with that on multiple levels, but not entirely like that. So I'm sorry, it's something you just said reminded me. It made me want to ask that question about the Amish.
No, it's a great point. My mission statement for the church that I've formed, it's called Light. Man, what's the name of my church? For crying in the night. Man, I'll get to that in a minute. It's escaping me for the moment.
I have a tendency to
lighting the way home. Lighting the way home fellowship. CPIR, and my work through CPIR. Part of it is formation of the church, and what I call the home church in particular. Because fuck the system that says a church is this building and it's got building funds and you pay tithes and you pay extra money to help them build their buildings and their ministry broadcasts and all this. No. When did that ever become church? Because in the book of Acts, like they met from house to house, building each other up in their holy faith. All right. So why don't we sort of get back to that? But Lighting the Way Home Fellowship is very much founded on this principle. I think we're losing Steve again.
Man, it couldn't be worse. I was over here playing with the stapler and stabbed myself because I'm like, I have a very fast mind. I don't know. I think too many things come, and so I can hear you, and I like to have something else to do. Like, they have the little kids fidgeting with stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Allows me. I just think better, and I stapled the shit out of myself, dude. I almost wanted to show y'all. It went all the way in. I was like, That's why when the
man.
people see the thing, I wanted to tell you something since you said about the church. We created, because we believe in Christ, we created Christ's beliefs and we took it and created a ministry, and we wanted to do something so unique that we had never seen it. We wanted to protect plant medicine, and we actually created like a dispensary so that people, when they join, it's private. We have original doctrines that are written that have our belief system, and it incorporates Christ's beliefs into action. But the crazy thing is instead of asking for, there is donations on there, but there's cannabis that people can purchase, and it all goes to the ministry. And we're going to build a place so people can come and learn all this stuff, because we do a lot of Christ in action stuff where people can take an action and stop just thinking Christ wanted you to pray. He didn't. He wants you to take an action, like he went and flipped the money changers over like that.
Right.
And that's what I want people
totally.
to inspire them to think for themselves and to realize God is in you. He sent you here to take an action. So boom, go do it.
Absolutely, man. That's that's the thing. We got to be people of action. We got to take what was taught in the last 10 years, people coming awake and realizing things are really messed up. There's a lot of corruption. So what to do about it? We got to take it to the next level. Yeah. And I think for those of us that have that conviction, we're not content to just, it's not like we don't watch movies ever, or we don't drink or belly up to the bar. Sure, we're going to enjoy those things, but it's not going to become that repetitive cycle. We're actually engineering ways to employ the learning that we've obtained over the last umpteen years.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think people just they think it's like all one way or the other. They can't see the co-mingling of standing up, learning your rights, and then still having a good life, because it is. I know my friends were kind of like shocked that I did this, because I was never like this, Jude. Not until they did the lockdowns. And once they did the lockdowns, that was it. I was like,
y'all, like the last straw.
I couldn't believe people complied. I used to be super buff, like huge, and I just couldn't go to the gym because I was like, all y'all are enabling this tyrannical system, and I couldn't fathom it. And even people I thought were very tough-minded, they're like, hey, wear your mask. I was like, fuck you. I think the worst thing I ever told someone, and I probably shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it. The worst thing I ever told someone, this lady was like, you're going to wear your mask. I said, look, girl, I can't run that fat ass weight off you, just like I can't wear that mask for you. Wear your own damn mask. And then I just walked away. I was so pissed. It was the meanest thing I ever said. My wife was like, but I was like really buff and just sick of the control. And I shouldn't have treated her like that, because I know she's just a victim of the system. And that's not what I am against. So I had to learn those shitty moments of treating people kind of fucked up doing that. Sure. And then I felt, you got to fix it.
Yeah. But there is something to virtue signaling. That's the other big thing that happened in 2020, that most of us that are just real, authentic people, we don't like that shit, man. Virtue signaling, making you feel bad because you're not wearing a mask, or you're not taking a vaccine. And you know what? Fuck you. Since when was my private business your business? Like, so there, I hear you, Kenny. And maybe you have a come to Jesus moment where you're like, maybe I could have handled that gentler. Yeah. Maybe not, though. Like, sometimes the fucking system needs to hear from us, back the fuck off.
Thanks, Jude.
I'm being real, because
first person that liked that comment, or that thought it was okay, because my wife was like this, and I was like a pretty intimidating person back then.
Oh man, a big dude. But
I was like,
this girl,
260?
Listen, this gal that was crossing you was not intimidated by that, and that kind of power in these people, virtue signaling that just went awry. Now 5 years later, they're fucking worse. So like, it's because there is no civility. There aren't enough of us that are willing to say, hey, I'm a true man. Like, back off, stay out of my business, lady. Don't talk to me like you're my mama. You're not my mama. So back off. And they got away with it for so long because we were browbeaten over the last fucking 5-10 years. Yeah. Out of being men, and women of conviction, your wife and others, that these women that like just love to hate on others. Yeah, they went unchecked for so long. They're so out of touch. And I think, I think a lot of us, that resonates with us. It's like, no, these people need to be put in their place. Yeah. So I'm a firm believer that there are our people, and then there's the outside world, and that outside world is huge. with our own, like the principles of Christianity apply. Like love one another, be kind to one another. I'm not a believer that this message of love everybody is what Jesus' message was about. That wasn't what it was about.
I just try to have compassion for the idiots now. That's what I've learned, because if I take on their shitty misery, it's by my choice. I kind of learned it from this thing. It was more recent. We did this thing where you sat for 10 days with no speaking. And there's a lot of talk that Christ did this, but they hide it. They hide it because it goes up to 40 days, this technique. And it's universal law. So it's not religious, and it's just about breathing. And it's really hard because your mind runs. And I think sitting there with myself with 10 days with no words, having to just focus on my breath and be guided by this Indian guy that I truly could barely understand, it was an eye-opening experience to reevaluate my compassion on others and realize that, okay, if I do this to them, essentially, I am doing it to myself, because no matter what, our souls, we're interconnected one way or another. That's why they're so scared of that 100th monkey shit, because it's real, bro. They're like terrified.
I got 2 points. Number one, Bardi could never last 10 days without talking. We know that.
I can't last
He'd
10
die.
seconds.
Secondly, I got to tell you, man, like really in my world, I'm in the combat zone. Like my job is to fight the goons.
Yeah.
My job is to fight people that have evil intentions towards good people, breaching contracts, keeping money that they didn't earn, trying to burn people, trying to use people. So I'm in this constant space where I look at the world a little bit differently. And I appreciate what you're saying. And I know that resonance and the frequency of the body is best, when there's harmonic frequency coming through. But what do you do when you're a warrior on the front lines? And you can't have that sort of like, you got to have that, you got to have the adrenaline rush to do what you're about to do. Like, I don't know how to put it. I just think it's circumstantial, and it depends on what your circumstances are.
Yeah.
And everybody's situation is different. Like a Bardi is great with talking to people. Me, I don't have the patience. I'm more of the mindset of like, fuck you. I'm not casting my pearls before swine. You don't even deserve to hear the shit that I have. My shit is good, but I'm going to share it with my people. Fuck you, and get out of my way.
It's a
Bardi
double-edged sword.
is going to entertain a discussion with them instead.
Listen, I'm going to tell you,
and I appreciate it. We're all different.
I love the fact that I can talk to a lot of people and I try to show love to everybody, but that has also gotten me banned from 3 public schools in my town. So apparently there's limits or boundaries, and I was not aware of them. So I'm not really sure what to do with that. Jude, that might be another conversation. I might need some legal advice on that. I drive a van.
You might.
I drive a van.
At this
and
point, just plead the fifth until we
it's got
talk.
a painted sign on the side that said free lollipops and hugs. Probably not a good idea to park it in front of a middle school, but nevertheless, here we are. Here we are.
Steve.
I don't know where you come up with your material, brother, but it's good.
You want to know the truth?
I love it.
It literally, I wish I could tell you that it was spontaneous. It's just my brain reacts. Go ahead.
Laffy Taffy rappers.
Listen,
throwing it out there.
Here's what I realized recently. Me, my brother, and sister, we were kids. We grew up in Rhode Island. My whole family's from Brooklyn, Bronx, Staten Island. So we would spend 3.5, 4 hours a couple times a year going to see my family. So what I used to do is I would tell my brother and sister sitting in the back of the car, I said, every song we hear and everything mom and dad say, I said, let's just pretend it's sexual. Everything will be funny. And so I have this incredibly Rodney Dangerfield, like Andrew Dice Clay-ish personality, which is wildly inappropriate. But if you plan your jokes properly,
poor parents, man.
Everything. We used to pretend everything so, back then, back in like the 80s, we didn't have That's What She Said. I would have gotten that tattooed where you can normally get a tramp stamp on my lower back.
Oh yeah, I could see that, brother. Damn. That's hilarious.
All right, so listen, I want to ask you. So I consider Kenny, Ashley, Gwen, State Nationals rock, and on some level, I'll say Anna von Reitz, but I had no, no personal relationship or correspondence with her whatsoever. But I found some value in her information. But I look at them as my mentors. I'm curious, who was your mentor, or did you just happened to stumble upon this like myself when you just went down a rabbit hole and one thing led to another? Was there someone in particular that you kind of that helped put the pieces together for you on your journey?
Man, in this journey, unfortunately, I don't have a mentor, and I say that regrettably because I feel like a man on an island, like in no man's land.
Castaway, yeah.
Because there are no lawyers. I didn't learn any of this shit from lawyers. Okay, number one.
I can't imagine.
It'd be nice to have a dialogue with lawyers that understand procedure and common law and constitutional law and all these principles, and that has never existed for me in this space. Like I'm the guy that's out there. You got the guided tour, and I'm lost and just doing my own thing, trying to excavate and going down these rabbit holes, and there's no guide with me. So my school of hard knocks, I mean, it was a school of hard knocks that was my mentor, because I've been burned a lot in this space, and probably a lot of us have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But as a lawyer, you get people that are like in these movements, in these various things, doing their thing, and they're like, "Oh, did you hear about Jude? Oh, great, let's talk to him." And they sort of would woo me in on the notion that, "Oh, we're going to teach you our stuff," but what they were really doing was trying to figure out the weaknesses in their protocols, and without like fully disclosing. Like I'm a guy of integrity.
That's fucked up.
It is fucked up, and I've seen it a lot, and it's all good.
Just ask and pay the guy for his damn time. Just pay Jude for his time and ask. Like, be a man.
Yeah,
what
seriously.
Dude, I totally agree, and that's where I am today. But that wasn't the last 10 years of my journey, man. There was a lot of bad stuff that happened, but all of it was part of my awakening. It was part of my journey. And at the end of the day, what I really came away with most is, all these fucking processes. I have to take the time. And, when you're a practicing lawyer, you got family. I got 4 kids, beautiful kids, and you got responsibility. So it's not like you can just do this extra research all the time. Nevertheless, I ultimately came to the point where, Jude, you got to do this. Like, you have to be the one to research this, because you keep coming down these dead end tunnels. You know a lot about this stuff, so devise a methodology. And that's what I've done over the last 5 years.
Awesome.
And yeah, I mean, why not, man? I'm done with just hearing how bad the state of affairs is. Let's fucking make a plan.
That's what I'm talking about.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
But just the doers. We need more doers. If we had more Judes and fucking Bardis, damn, we'd be free.
And Kenny,
All right.
and Kenny, and
Kenny's too. Throw some Kenny's in there. He might fuck up the park.
Listen, so 2 things on that comment. Number one, we could try to crossbreed the 3 of us. I don't think our wives would approve, and I don't know if biologically it would work, but we could still give it a shot. Number 2.
Clonate.com.
Number 2,
I want the naming rights. No, fuck that. You guys keep the naming rights.
When we first started the podcast, I neglected to ask, and I'm very rude for doing this. I neglected to ask everyone if you wanted to tell the audience what your pronouns are. It's never too late to tell everyone your pronouns. Kenny, what are you?
Mine are shut the fuck.
Listen.
All right,
listen.
Probably some curse words, I guess. I don't know.
Just so you guys are on the same. Just so you guys are aware, my older brother's getting.
Hey, I didn't get to answer the question.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Go, Jude.
Masculine with pipes like Bardi.
Yes.
I don't have those. It's a total joke.
So, do you guys want to? I'm going to show you guys. This is totally has nothing to do with the outline, but I think you guys will get a kick out of this. My older brother is getting remarried on October 4th. So, me as the best man, I reached out to I forget the daughter's name. Shit, it's probably important. The one I'm coming in with. So I wanted to coordinate something in terms of like our entrance. So she reached out to me. She says, "Hey," she goes, "your brother said I should talk to you first before I plan anything." I said, "Good idea. I'll quarterback this whole thing." So what I had made was a 3-foot by 5-foot flag. Now, the first part of this, it may raise some eyebrows, particularly with Kenny, but the second part of this, what I put in this flag, you'll both appreciate. So I went and I had a custom flag made with the MAGA logo. So it says MAGA on one side. So that's what we're going to come out to. But what I did, and I didn't tell you the other side yet, Kenny, don't get mad. So I'm
not mad,
no,
Steve.
I
You're
know,
free. Believe what you want.
So
You're my friend. I don't care if you're in the Bloods or the Crips of politics.
when myself and this girl, oh my God, who am I coming out with? Not Callie. Shit, I need to remember this.
Oh, jeez.
I found a
Hopefully
version of
she's not watching.
No, she doesn't watch my show. I don't think her mother would let her. I found a version of Hulk Hogan's entrance theme, I Am a Real American, but it starts out with John F. Kennedy, ask not what your country can do for you. So I'm going to have the DJ ask everybody to please stand and place your hand over your heart. And then we're going to come out. It's going to start with that. Then it goes into Hulk Hogan's theme song. We're going to open up the flag. It's going to say MAGA because I want to ruffle some feathers. And then depending on the reception, I'm going to spin it around. And on the other side, I had it say marriages are great again. So I went from MAGA to marriages are great again. That's what I'm coming out to my brother's wedding. I think.
Oh, that's cool.
Well,
That's pretty cool.
I'm going to try to go viral and not like the herpes I passed around in the late 90s. I'm talking like really viral. Like, I don't even know what, I don't know what you guys just said that made me think of that story, but.
I don't know, but the more you say, Bardi, the more I think, you're going to need me as your legal representative. In a lot of
shit.
I'm just saying.
I think he's been needing you for quite a while, Jude.
So, now that we're on that topic, Jude, do you have a Groupon for like a repeat offender like myself?
Call me, we'll work something out, man.
All right, so listen, I wanted to ask you. So why don't we do this? I just want to read really quick what you had sent me over for your organization's philosophy, because I think it's very important. And we've touched on multiple facets of this, but I just want the audience to hear it. So your philosophy for CPIR, you stated, we're all placed on this earth in this time and space to offer something to the world, our gift and our calling. At a micro level, my job is to empower people through law to pursue their passion in their ministry as a profitable livelihood by leveraging strategic business and estate planning using trusts, unincorporated associations, and tax-exempt nonprofit organizations to help clients focus on their calling. So with that in mind, I would love to know, are there certain verticals or industries that are best suited for this? And are there certain industries or types of, entrepreneurial roles that perhaps this is not a good fit for?
This works for everybody, and here's why. Except for if you're a government employee. Like, I can't privatize your government work, right? If you're a congressperson, if you're a council member, or you're a police officer or the sheriff's department, you're a public office holder. You have a duty, you have an oath of office, right? Other than that, I maintain this, that Commercial Babylon has made us believe that if anything that you do makes you money, it's taxable. Mm-hmm. And it's a lie. It's a fucking absolute lie. And it's not just me saying it. There are lots of people since the 80s and 90s that have come to the realization that the income tax does not apply to the ordinary citizen and their earnings, okay? But the IRS wants us to believe that anything that we do, if it generates income, is part of commerce. And what they've done is look, we used to have a republic. It got turned upside down. It's now a democracy, whatever the fuck that means.
Hey, yes.
Right? I mean, it's not a thing.
Nobody knows the difference in that.
Good. No, and they don't.
Democracy is the last step before communism.
My job, yeah, absolutely. Democracy tries to satisfy the minority to the detriment of the majority. Okay, be that as it may, it's not a real thing. You can never build a democracy that will last. The republic that was established, we were supposed to be paid our weight in gold at birth. What happened to the gold?
Yeah.
Weight in gold was actually a thing, and it was stolen away from us, among other things, all our other freedoms, right? So we got to right this ship. You know what? I just lost my train of thought. Tell me what the damn question was.
Oh, I was asking if there's certain bit, dude. I do this all the time. Please, if there's certain verticals or industries that work well and some that maybe won't work well with you.
No, it works simply for every vertical, because Commercial Babylon has lied to us. And again, I say Commercial Babylon is everything from the original minted coins in Babylon circa 2,000 or 3,000 BC all the way to the present. Every government that has ever instituted taxation, that's Commercial Babylon. And in modern day America, that's the IRS or your state revenue department. But the lie is that somehow everything that we do on this earth, if it generates income, is somehow taxable as part of commerce. That's not the case at all. What the IRS has no control over is the 501c3 church with 508c1a mandatory exemption status. Now, that's just a definition in the IRS. What it really means is this: before the law, before the Constitution ever was on the scene, was the church. The church has always existed, at least since the days of Christ, okay? The church is the one institution that the IRS cannot control. It's the only one that gives you 508c1a mandatory exemption status. What's the point? The moral of the story is this: Steve Bardi and Kenny and his wife's unique way of reaching people and reasoning with them and pulling them out of darkness. If you're a medical practitioner, you're in the healing arts. They lied to you and made you think it's a medical practice. For lawyers who advocate on behalf of our neighbors, our brothers, our sisters, our people, they lied to us and made us think we're attorneys, turning property over from individuals to the state. That's not our job. And it's a God-given gift to be able to speak on behalf of those who have no voice. Defend the widow and the orphan. Speak up for those who have no voice for themselves. That's my job. And they're telling me that is not ministry? Yes, it is. Everything that we do is absolutely ministry. When it emanates from the heart, when we're not just loaded up on the idea of or intoxicated with the fantasy of making as much money as we can, and we actually have a heart for our brothers and sisters, this is ministry. You could be in the foods. I got all kinds of clients in every spectrum that you can imagine: supplements, food preparation, cured meats, the healing arts, doctors, medical doctors, clinicians, folks that are in all kinds of different spaces. Of course, myself. You got people living on their farms, on their ranches, whatever. All of the stuff that generates from inside of our hearts and is a gift to the world, that is ministry. And yet commercial Babylon has converted that to say, no, if it makes you money, you are taxable. And it's a lie. We just need to learn to invert this model and bring it back to complete privatization outside of the reach of the government.
Yep. So, Jude, one thing I just want to touch on, you mentioned cured meats a few minutes ago. Maybe we could talk after the show, because if you have cured an STD, I would like to know which one and how you did it. That would be very beneficial for me.
Man, oh man, I walked right into that one.
I know how you're genuine because I watched your body language. Whenever you missed the question and you got off topic, what'd you say? Did you get mad, get red? No. You said, hey, man, what was the question again?
I'm off on a kid.
That's genuinity, and that's probably why you're so successful, because when you're genuine, it does emanate from the heart, and that's why you're able to connect. And Christ is really, the quantum is real. Christ is here. And if you open your heart, you connect to him and you can embody that, like he said within you, that you're the temple. And being genuine like that, that's what brings that about, so that you can express it. And I saw that and I was like, he's definitely, because a lot of people, when you're not a genuine person, if you get caught off guard, your ego is going to make you red faced and you're going to be, you're not going to know, you're just going to feel guilty for fucking missing for that little miss. That's not even nothing. It just happens to everybody.
But it affects you.
But when you're genuine, you just push in the positive. Hey, what was the question again? And you just keep rolling.
I appreciate that feedback, Kenny, but I can't let you give me too much credit. The bourbon helps.
Well, they say Christ turned the water into wine. I'm sure he probably drank some. I'm sure he did. I'm not just saying.
Christ turned my wine into tequila.
I'm with you.
I'm with you.
But listen, so to your point, this is why I believe, like, the church, the Holy Spirit, it is within us. And I'm going to give you a perfect example. I know I bust balls a lot, I joke around, whatever, and I have a temper like every other guy on earth, but there was a point, and I do stuff like this all the time, but there was maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, my wife and I were grocery shopping, and there was an older woman wheeling herself in a manual wheelchair. So she's pushing herself with one arm, and she has like 3 or 4 different things in her lap because she can't push a carriage. My wife and I had just gotten to the store. So I walked over, and we crossed paths with her in one of the aisles, and I could see her looking in her lap and looking up inside the freezer, deciding what was more important because she can only carry so much. So I says, Brianna, take the list. By the way, Drew, my wife's name is Brianna. I said, take the list. I'm going to go get a carriage and do this woman shopping for her. So I went over to her with the carriage. I said, ma'am, I said, would you please let me help you out? I said, let's just put your stuff in here. I'm like, my wife can handle what I'm doing. I said, I'd like to just walk you around the store and get you everything you need. Sure enough, she was going in for open heart surgery the next day. She lives by herself. Her granddaughter was going to pop over to come take care of her. So she was trying to stock her fridge as much as she could before she left. Now, I'm not telling you the story to blow smoke up my own ass. I want to tell you the point at the end of this. So I helped her cash out. I took her out to her car. I loaded up her groceries in her car, everything. She tried to hand me $20. I said, ma'am, I said, my grandfather would come out of the grave and kick me in the face if I took that from you. I said, I'm actually willing to see if you'd like my wife and I to follow you home so I could put your groceries away so you don't have to. She says, no. My granddaughter can come help me. She should be there. But I turned around and walked away to go back in the store because I left my wife alone, and I started to cry. And the reason I cried was that overwhelming feeling of like joy, or just like I loved that I was able to be in that position. But that emotion was one of the strongest emotions I've ever felt in my life. But that's how I know it's all within us. It's not in a building you go to once a week for 45 minutes. It's not in donating money to somebody who really doesn't need it. It's in your actions and your heart. It's how you interact with your community. That's how I know this is real. Because every single time, and Kenny, you know this, I say this all the time, I will not take a fucking penny from these people, and they've tried, but I won't, because I love the feeling. If someone reaches out to me via email or whatever, and I'm able to answer their question or whatever, that's enough for me. That feeling that I get is, to me, better than money. I wouldn't trade that for all the money in the world. So that's just my perspective on this. Like, I genuinely feel like, so when we have this conversation about, you're turning yourself and your business and your passion into a ministry, like you just said, if your heart is in it, that is your ministry. It's an extension of you, your goodwill, your love, your passion to help and pay it forward. I 1000% believe that to be true. I never experienced that when I was younger, but as I got older and I tried to become more selfless instead of selfish, that feeling, there is nothing like it. Absolutely nothing like it in the world.
Absolutely. But let me take your example. Like, that's beautiful. That you just described everything that is ministry. And that's really where all of our good works emanate from. Like, in our heart's desire, whether we want to be an architect or somebody that saves people's lives in medical, rooms, in hospital beds, clinics, supplements, peptides, ranches, bringing good food to the earth, organics, free range cattle, all of this stuff. It comes from this place that emanates from exactly what Steve's talking about, this good place in the heart where you want to do good, where you can make a difference. And you do it, and there's no price that can pay for the adrenaline rush that made Steve Bardi cry like a baby. Mm-hmm. Because that's coming from his father, man. Like, some people call him source and the universe and all this other stuff. For Christians, we call him father, just like Jesus told us to call him. And that's all good. Whatever your thing is, whatever your faith walk is, this eternal substance about you that makes you know, the pineal gland, right? That makes you know you're not just a temporal being, and you're going to take time out of your schedule to do good for this woman that can't do good for herself. Like, that's powerful. And yet, here's what commercial Babylon does. It what's the word? It commoditizes that transaction.
Yes, it does.
Think about the medical industry. What is the medical industry? It's the healing arts. It's like Steve helping this woman, except for with her medical maladies. And what the medical profession does is it says, well, we got to commoditize this. So you got to fill out these codes. What was the nature of the business? They perverted it. Yeah. What was the diagnosis? Tell us the DSM-4 diagnosis for the brain, whatever. What medications were, and you got to do all these codes and bullshit because it's all codified to kill the spirit of that transaction. I don't have a good example for helping your neighbor the way Steve did, but that's what they do with fucking every industry. They take ministry-based stuff, which should be just given out of love, and should it make you money? It absolutely should. you should receive remuneration for your good works. It should be your life call. But what the IRS and the world and the government construct and commercial Babylon does is it dumbs it down, and it takes the spirit out of it by making you chase after receipts, papers, codes, all this other nonsense. And now you're just commoditized, and you don't know how to get out of the damn thing because you got to pay off your medical school debt or law school debt or construction trade debt. So
you're behind the eight ball right when you get started. Yeah, you're behind the eight ball the second you get started. I'm trying to find a picture on my phone. There was my old chiropractor. I went to go see him one day, and this is I'll stop telling stories after this, but we're on the topic, so you guys will appreciate it. Right. So there was
nobody in the ether that's hearing this believes that. Yeah, but go ahead.
So I was at my chiropractor one day. I'm in the waiting room, and I heard somebody in complete anguish in the other room, and it didn't sound like they spoke English. So long story short, there's me and maybe 5 or 6 other people sitting out in the waiting room, and I see this Guatemalan kid, and he's got a caretaker with him, a tall older gentleman, but he had both of his arms had been removed. So he had from like the middle of his bicep down had been removed. I don't know from what. So my heart breaks. My wife and I, we see a kid on the side of the road selling lemonade. I just stop and give him money. I don't even want the lemonade. So I saw this guy, and I'm just like, my heart instantly breaks. So then sure enough, there's, a few people ahead of me. So I hear this commotion in the parking lot. A phone rings. My chiropractor runs outside. He says, Steve, he says, I need your help. I went outside. So the kid was there. He could barely walk. He had slipped a disc in his back, but he's got no arms. So he's in a caravan. They're driving him around a van to move him around. So we had to pick him up off the ground because he couldn't stand up on his own. And the older gentleman, the caretaker, was too weak to pick him up. So we had to pick him up, get him situated, put him in the van. And I was this sounds like I'm seeking attention at this point, but my wife will confirm this. I was so distraught after what that poor kid went through. I skipped my chiropractor appointment. I went in there. I got very upset. Like it broke my heart to watch him like this. And then, you're on a main road, so you see all these cars driving by, and people are just looking. Not one asshole stopped. You see this poor guy rolling around on the ground. Someone's struggling to pick him up. So I went home afterwards. And then the next day, I texted my chiropractor to say, listen, man, I'm like, that just made me very emotional. I'm like, I just want to go home and relax. So the next day, he sends me a text message. I can't find the picture, but it's that young man and his caretaker holding his arms up. Hey, I'm feeling much better today. He wanted to send me the picture of the two of them to let me know that he was okay. That's the kind of shit. I feel like if everyone just for a moment just took that mentality, forget yourself for a minute and just do what you can do to make everything around you better, I feel like these conversations would be few and far between. But everything, like you said, just codified, gets perverted by money, contracts. Everybody's chasing this worthless fucking life where you got to have high-end cars, huge houses. You got to go on all these vacations. You got to keep up with the Joneses. That's what Babylon is to me. It's the lie you're being sold.
Welcome to Babylon.
Yeah, it's the lie you're being sold. You're being sold a lie. This is going to make you happy. But if Babylon...
It's programmatic. It's why Kenny doesn't watch movies. It's programmatic thinking that's programmed into us through our TVs, television, right? And all the other nonsense.
Well, how many people went to school and chose a career path based on what they saw on television or a movie?
Yeah.
That has become...
That's really true.
Our reality is in that box, and it's scary. It's absolutely scary.
Yeah. I feel like Jude said it whenever he said he started researching religion. When I grew up in the church, my mom would take me 3 days a week a lot of the times. And that's just how our life was because she was raised that way. And I realized, a lot of my mom's problems, what did she do? She would always pray. And that's just what they're trained and told. This is how you do it. You live by faith, not works. And I thought, well, let's just reverse that phrase. What if we all just embody what Christ taught us? And we all do it. Then we can live in the world we want and stop praying about it. And God will be like, there you go. I told you you knew it. And then I feel like that's what they're trying to get to us. So that's why I think these obstacles are here. Yeah. Once these obstacles are overcome and people become, hey, that was my greatest achievement. And look at this amazing world we live in now. That's what I'm waiting for. Because I know it's coming. track down how they're making every city a smart city right now? Every mayor, whether it's Republican or Democrats, on climatemayors.org or C40.org, and they've all agreed to sign on to World Economic Forum, it's the Agenda 2030, and they're implementing these smart cities. That is control measures using AI. That's going to trigger people to finally be like, all right, y'all are trying to do us in dirty. We're going to have to stand up now. And I think they're going to be like, okay, I'm ready. So I think it's coming. 5 years, I don't think people are going to be as asleep as we thought they were. And I used to have bad hopes for people, but I've really increased by watching. I watch everyone, like everywhere I go. I'm like a people watcher. I feel like I'm a bird watcher for people and shit. Are you awake? And I'm looking for body language. And it seems like people are coming more together. I even noticed when they kept us separated, when I started researching the body and seeing our aura fields, we communicate, we don't even realize it through our energy. Just by being within 6 feet, our fields connect, and it's good for us. We need it. We require it. And just by them separating us was creating a division. Like you were saying, how they codified the medical system. Shit, they're like codifying our bodies and keeping them separate. And I was like,
oh yeah,
it's everything. And things you would never fathom, like keeping you 6 feet apart. Oh, it's for your health. No, it's to keep you distant, so you're more separated and more angry and hateful towards your neighbor. Because if you were to happen to get love back in your heart, you might not be such a dick. You know, things might just be like, I don't know, you know?
It's true.
Totally off subject. I found the picture. Oh, come on. Is this not going to...
Yeah.
Come on, man.
We can see a blue teal shirt, blue
Why won't it
pants,
show?
a lot of white.
People next to each other.
I'll text it to you guys off screen. But anyway.
Put the picture over in the video when you do the edit so everybody could see it. Because I want to see it. Like,
it's awesome, man.
We all got to see it at this point.
Yeah, we got to see it.
All right, I'm going to group text it to you guys right now. So, Jude, do me a favor. I wanted to ask you.
Good.
Text it to you guys.
I'm going to group text it to you guys. By the way, we should change the podcast to the Totally Random Podcast. Dude, this is just totally this is just a goofy question I wanted to throw into the outline. What are some of the craziest or like strangest things that have been presented to you throughout your career? Like in terms of a client seeking your services?
Oh, boy. You know, it has definitely come in the last 5 and 10 years during most of my awakening, right? Because you encounter clients that are trying to do some crazy stuff. And, you know, a lot of it is I end up with clients that have made a lot of mistakes along the journey. And so they've already been in court. They've already advanced all these nonsensical or just poorly scripted arguments. And then they're coming to me in the final phases, and I'm trying to sort of rehabilitate an opportunity to either get them out of court or get them out of a bad audit that's coming or whatever the case may be. You know, before I came awake, I would have thought there's no way that I could entertain any of these clients. So, yeah, certainly this journey has brought a lot of clients to me that, look, we're innovators. We're creators. My clients have a lot of different arguments to make, whether they're in a court of law and I'm representing clients in court right now, you know, in some pretty important stuff. I got a client that's been under the microscope with the IRS for 25 years. There's not an attorney that will touch the arguments. 25 fucking years, man. There's not an attorney that would touch the arguments that I'm making in that case. Because you got to be a believer that the income tax is not a valid tax for people that do nothing for the government.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a tough question to answer, but I mean the reality is it's in our space, like where we are as free people, free thinkers. We're so outside of the box. The system despises us, bro.
So to that point, because there's several questions I wanted to piggyback off of that. When you watch some of these videos, and I'm assuming you've seen some of them, like the sovereign citizens going into court, shouting at judges, taking their long form birth certificate thrown over to the gallery. A, what's your reaction to that, to any one of those? And B, is there an appropriate way for someone who calls himself a sovereign citizen, which, as we all know, you're existing as an oxymoron, we're not advocating. Is there, number one, I'd love to hear your feedback on how they treat the court, because to me, the court is a gentleman's game. It's made with a certain demeanor and
Respect.
aura about it that it's a respectful environment. So you will get treated the way you treat others in that environment. That's just my opinion. But I'd love to get your feedback on that. And is there a way for people in that situation to better represent themselves as a pro se litigant, in your opinion?
Yeah, listen, it's a great question. And I always say you get more honey with bees than with vinegar, right? I think in this space of the sovereign citizens or freedom fighters, whatever it is that this movement is all about, people really build in their brains these sort of electric fences. Well, if I'm courteous, then they're going to think that I've given them jurisdiction. That's not how jurisdiction works. But certainly, if you want to have a better time of it, like think about the judge that you were talking to, Steve, and the judge said, I could hear you talk for 45 minutes, and I'm not rattled. And if more people showed up in my court with these arguments and just presented them calmly the way you did, Mr. Bardi, I would probably be much more receptive.
Just having a normal
It's just a matter of like, how do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Yeah,
and it's the golden rule, right? Like I had a client just this week, okay? And I'm talking with him and another party that's working with us. Got his ass handed to him in a state court. And the question was, okay, we're in a hearing tomorrow, Jude. Like, what's next? Like, how do we go ahead and, for example, we didn't even stand for the court. She stood there for a couple of minutes and said, I'm waiting, or something to that effect. And I said, well, do this. Don't die on every hill. Let's just, when the court walks in, just get up. And if you have to, for your own conscience sake, because see, my job isn't to tell you script everything for you. But if there's something on your conscience you want to say as part of that, say it. So you might want to make a record, a formal record, as the judge walks in, stand up and say, Your Honor, I'm not accustomed to getting up and bowing or sort of giving homage to a judge just because they are wearing black robes. But I'm doing that because I sense that it's an expectation in your court that when you walk into the courtroom, everybody stands. Now, I do that out of respect and deference to the fact that this is your courtroom. However, I do not confer upon this court jurisdiction by standing up. Make a record, say whatever you want, or say nothing at all. It like really comes to each of us being sovereign to decide what is my heart telling me to do. But certainly don't like just egg the judge on and make them hate you, because they're going to hand their asses to you. Here's the other thing, Steve. We lose in this freedom space, not on the merits of the legal arguments. We actually fucking win on those arguments. Mm-hmm. Here's where we lose. Procedural law. We don't understand the fucking core procedures. You don't get to present everything in a preliminary hearing, right? It's just like, all we're asking you, it's like my cousin Vinny. How do your clients plead? You say one more word, Mr. Gambini, I'm going to throw you in jail. That's what it was. Movie. Yeah. You're not here to present your fucking argument and your affidavits and all. I was born as part of the royal family of the Scots of whatever. No, that's not an issue. It's procedural, and we don't know the procedures, so we're giving everything, like vomiting it, and the court is just disgusted by it. And of course, they come out away saying things like, "These people are making incomprehensible arguments," and we're burning bridges. Because there's a time and place for everything. When you know procedure, you're going to get your day in court, but it's not the first day that you show up. So understand the law, figure out what the local rules say this procedure is about, and plead guilty or not guilty. That's it. And just sit down. No more to be said. We lose. We get our asses handed to us on procedure. We need to be more sophisticated than that.
Well, think about everything you just said is brilliant. And what I want to say is this. I think it's all done out of fear.
Thank you, Steve.
if you want to remove your pants, I'm ready to blow smoke up there. But
man.
But I'm saying, think about when you're afraid. Like you do things out of fear. Like you're a kid, you have to stand in front of the class. You want to hurry up and just steamroll through it. So there's no emotion. The delivery's off. I would imagine a lot of these people who want to go in as pro se litigants probably do the same thing based on the fact that they don't know the procedures, they don't know the vocabulary, they don't know the legalese that goes along with it. So what do? You go in there and you just try to bulldoze and and you're hoping that you could just overwhelm the judge and just get everything dropped. But at the end of the day, the courtroom, to me, outside looking in, is run as a very efficient business. And with any efficient business, you don't have time to waste time. So anything that's perceived as a waste of time is going to get kind of kicked down the road a little bit. That's my perception. I might be wrong on some things, but that's just how it seems to me.
I'm with you 100%. Steve, if I come over to your house, this is the analogy. I come over to your house and we're about to sit for a meal, and you guys have a routine, a rhythm, right? Mm-hmm. You set out some appetizers, maybe some drinks, some nice drinks. And then the meal is presented. You guys may say grace, but I come in and I'm like, I'm sovereign. I do my thing. And I go and I open the oven and I take a slice off of the whatever delicate, beautiful meat is being prepared, and I start chomping on that. And then I go and have my glass of wine, and I got some other. There are rules, bro, to be in the Bardi home. Don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. You're in their house. It's not your court. Now, okay, we could say that we could constitute a court of our own competitive with that court. But the fact of the matter is we're in their territory. So we ought to just learn to be a little bit deferential, a little bit humble, and say, hey, how about this for an opener? Your Honor, I'm representing myself. I'm improper. I'm pro se. I am sui juris. And as such, I didn't have the benefit of going to law school. I'd like to know the local rules. Can I get a copy of the local rules so that I can properly prepare my own defense? I don't plan to get a lawyer. I don't plan to get an attorney of my own. And if I do, I'll reserve that for future decision making. But I want to make sure that I understand the court rules before I start, going down this road. You start with that kind of deferential. You didn't confer jurisdiction by asking. All you did was the Bardi approach of diplomacy, and it's okay.
Yeah,
you're going to be a better person for it in the end. People are not going to despise you for the art, and they're not going to think you're a quack. So
yeah, I agree.
Save the canons for your day in court. Everything else is procedure, and if you get that wrong, and you add on top of it insulting the court and the bailiff and the DA and the police officers and everybody else involved, you're not going to have any friends, and that's not the way to get along in life.
Yeah.
And again, I am not saying surrender jurisdiction, concede jurisdiction. No, you can still maintain. I am still not convinced, Your Honor, that the court has established both subject matter and personal jurisdiction over me, or subject matter jurisdiction over the issues in this case. Nevertheless, I want to get along until I get to that point where I can present the merits of my arguments in my day in court.
I just want to clarify one thing. You made some great points, Jude, but when you enter my house for a dinner party, the first thing we give you is a roofie colada made by Bill Cosby's liquor.
Roofie colada.
So that's the first thing. Because essentially what happens...
See, I already messed it up. You see what I'm talking about?
So I'm advocating for your services here because I am quite the degenerate. So just...
Have you seen the videos where people don't cross the bar because they believe that grants jurisdiction, just crossing, the wooden little plank, So I always, saw it as, how come... What about when you need to defend yourself? With that ideology, now you can never go on the offense if you get, say, your credit card processing company steals 10 grand from you. You can't do nothing about it because you can't even cross the bar. You have nothing. You're just go in the woods and yell because you can't do shit.
You're basically walking in, insulting the court. It's just like, hey, this is a dog and pony show. I'm not playing your games. Like, imagine walking into a court and that's your behavior.
I got a good question for you, Jude. What if there was a tool that showed people due process violations and taught them true due process violations and how to actually identify them and how to properly litigate a due process violation, exploit it out, and get it dismissed on the merits?
It's a great point, Kenny, because look, you can I'm speaking to anybody that wants to be a sovereigntist, sovereign citizen, anything like that. We are not knocking your ability to say you're a sovereign citizen, sui juris, improper, pro se, whatever. and you can maintain that position and just leave it on the side. So, Your Honor, I'm making a special appearance, at sui jury or whatever other means that you want to. So what you're saying is I am reserving the right to later argue against you having jurisdiction. But now that I'm putting that to the side, because I know you're not going to pay attention to it at all, because you've convened a code-driven court instead of a constitutional court, a common law court. If I cite to to maxims of law, they're going to mean nothing to you because you are being driven by code, state code or federal code, whatever the case may be. Now that I've preserved my objection that I am appearing in a limited appearance capacity, now I want to get onto the merits of your code required jurisdiction. So, in order to establish subject matter jurisdiction, you have to meet these elements. In order to have personal jurisdiction over my person, or so-called person, you have to establish these elements. And I don't think those have been met. But let's get on to the I'm entitled to due process. Like under your code requirements, I am entitled to due process. And so, there's that checklist, Kenny, where we're going through a rap sheet of were your due process rights violated? Did you get the opportunity to confront witnesses? Now, this all happens over time because, again, we're going back to my cousin Vinny and just, can you plead whether you're saying guilty? Are you pleading guilty or not guilty?
Yeah.
I don't want to know your whole case right now. That comes later. But the merits, absolutely, to have this sort of, evaluative methodology for looking at a checklist of, were these rights violated? Were those and they could be a number of things, both in the criminal capacity or civil, because we have both due process rights under the Fourth and Fifth Amendment.
We created a crazy tool that does all that, and
you got to be kidding.
No, it works so well. I created it for multiple reasons, but one reason was Ashley's mom. I call her grandma. She got sued when we were in Hawaii for a year, and it took a year of me and her, and it was just me. I did her whole case for her, and they cheated her. They hung up on her one time, and they gave her a default, and I had to get her a motion to set aside, get all her evidence, so she was on the phone. We submitted it. He did set it aside. We restarted the case. By the end of it, she did owe them too. She owed them $2,700, and she had a second one for $5,000. They ended up dismissing her case because we got a lot of the stuff strict or excluded from the record, because I would get their affidavit was it was sworn by the people who worked for a portfolio, but the actual debt was coming from the original creditor. So I was like, that's hearsay. That shit got to go, because they're not working for the original creditor. So I would put these motions to exclude and strike on there, and I was pulling shit out of their actual complaint. So we beat it, but I wanted to see what the tool could do just by examining that original complaint. So I filed it in this morning, and I said, find me all the due process violations, and it found all of them. And it found one more that I didn't even see. And I was like, holy shit, because I hadn't.
So an AI tool that evaluates the written product and says, hey, looks like you might have this, that, and the other? Wow. Dude, that's badass.
It's really impressive. We have them putting it on. It's currently running on a separate website because of the functionality, but it works like a charm. And the engineers are installing it on our actual website, and I've been testing it, and it works. So it does it based on the programming, and I programmed it for constitutionality first, second due process, and third jurisdiction, and it goes in sweeps for all that. And if there is any violations in there, it lists them, and then it wants you to ask it, hey, educate me on this, and then it'll educate you on the full part, because you, as being the only lawyer in this space, nobody has stuff like this. So I knew okay, maybe I know some stuff. I don't know everything. I only know a little bit. And compared to a lot of people, so I was like, how am I going to do this for everybody? So as I started compiling all these classes, I started programming it with due process violations. And so what I did is I started compiling lists of hundreds of due process violations. The violation, how it happened, the code that protects you, or the actual code or the law or the precedent that protects you, and then the remedy. And I compiled them all into a list, and I plugged it in. So it has that in its actual programming. So if there is something like that, it will search it, it'll find the violation, and it'll expose it and tell you, look, exploit this. Wow. Go after this and dismiss it off this technicality instead of all this bullshit people are doing and getting in trouble.
Absolutely. Where is this? Where's your tool?
It's on our website. It's called Due Process Defender. It's
Oh,
pretty,
dude,
bro.
that's pretty brilliant.
Because you can say, hey, teach me this, and it'll create an educational class. You could say, teach me how to e-file. It'll pull your local e-filing and see, does it exist? If it exists, it'll give you the phone number. It'll give you the email. It'll give you anything you can want. Like whenever I wanted.
You got a background in programming, or I mean, how'd you?
No, I have something unique that happens that I get these ideas, and I don't know how it happens, but it
See
happens
that gift
night.
party? That's the gift I'm talking about.
It just happens all kinds of stuff. Water, resynchronizing the water and making it harmonic again. I get ideas for the machines, how to run them on copper and how to replace the water with it. And I get these ideas. I don't, it's not me, so I can't never take credit, but it does flow through me. And because I'm open to it and I have the right heart, I'm being genuine, it allows to come through. And so what it allows me to do is to find the stuff that I need. So I'll go, and from all my research, I have thousands and thousands of documents. I have thousands and thousands of videos saved, and I'll compile things that matter that I know. Like something tells me this matters. So then I'll go reading it and I'm like, boom, there it is. And I start finding things that really help people. And I'll put in any type of due process, or like people don't know how to file motions. People don't know, like all the programming it has, I programmed into it, like how to file through e-filing. If e-filing doesn't work, how to properly mail it. We can get a real certificate of service so it's actually legal.
Right.
Like all that type of stuff, how to hand deliver it and get it stamped, file stamped, like that basic stuff. It has everything. So
dude, that's amazing. I mean, that's absolutely stunning.
I knew you would like it, Jude. I knew it. Yeah,
I do. Cool. I do, man.
I can, I think we could probably have someone send it to you if you're curious, see how it works.
Oh, of course I am. Yeah, no, definitely do.
You're going to be like, holy shit, Kenny.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We did a
show.
Yeah,
no, I'm telling you, it sounds fantastic.
Yeah, we did an episode
it's pretty wild.
Two or three podcasts ago. We did a show where we did like a live demo of the app, and we put in different, like, you know, traffic infractions, whatever it was, all different scenarios. And the way this thing kind of holds your hand on how to get things dismissed, removed, withdrawn, but then it looks for, like he said, to the constitutionality
all
piece
due
of
process.
It was crazy. Last week, a week and a half ago, we did a podcast with a group of people from South Africa who Kenny and his team created a version of this based on South Africa's constitution.
South Africa.
So he made it applicable to them and their constitution. So we're working with South Africa right now.
Dude, that is badass.
I plug in the constitutions. I have Australia, Canada. Currently, I'm doing the UK, but it takes me like about a month to do each one. And I just program them out until they're good.
Kenny does the UK. Sounds like an OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Dude, the UK, they have Kenny does the UK. They have I saw a girl, they have ordinances now, city ordinances that children, I guess they say they're being disruptive. They can't go into certain stores after 5:00. So there's like a viral video of a little girl getting arrested. And I plugged it into there and I was like, hey, is this real? And it says, well, it's real, but it's not being accurate. She was actually hitting the officer. And at one point I do see her kick him. So I was like, oh yeah, they're kind of making it look worse than it is. But she got arrested for going in there and being, you know, disorderly. But they have an ordinance that children are not allowed to go in there after 5 without a parent. And that's like in the UK, in certain parts of the UK. And I was like, damn, that's pretty weird. I guess they would need this. So let's make it for the UK. So we're making one right now for the UK. It just takes me a month because I have to find all their information and I have to read it. And if it's good, then I'm able to program it into it. And it just has to be good if it really fits. And then
I mean, the AI capacities where it's able to just lockstep all of this stuff.
Yeah, it needs the program though. So it goes online and it pulls all that raw data, but without the programming, it's just ChatGPT. So it needs the programming to like kind of constrict it down a path, and that's what it does. So it puts it on a path to where it leads you down, and that way you, even if you know nothing, you can say, hey, this is my situation. Can you help me? And it'll say, and then it'll ask you, give me your name, court case, judge's name, date. It asks you all the data, and it just starts to explain what happened, what's your rights.
But it's also pulling current information, right?
Yeah,
like
it goes on the internet.
A year from now, it's going to be pulling from the internet, so it's always going to be current.
It's always current.
Dude, that is amazing. Like, you need to license that, bro.
Well, what we want to do right now, as we're going to grow, I have to get the entire system off of their system. So I have to build my own servers and create my own, it's basically our own Chat GPT, which is just going to be its own AI model. So it's unrestricted without any of their restrictions, because even though it's, yeah, that's what we're working on, and we're putting all that together, because I know that they're trying to use AI for negative, but since I've seen how bad the control measures are on the human population, if you look around, air, food, water, massive wars, money's fake. I mean, it's kind of already, the Babylon system's here. AI has the best hope to expose them and kind of like show people, look, they're doing it. And so I support it.
And people believe AI. They actually intuitively believe, well, that computer is not lying, it's just observing.
Yeah,
right?
It does lie though sometimes. Like,
it
not
does,
ours.
but most people are inclined to not believe people
they
so
believe
much as a robot spitting out data.
Yeah, we do tell everyone, double check it. It always says like, this is educational information only. Always double check. One thing it can't do that I really struggled to get programmed is it can't pull raw data for the exact formatting per court. So, there's slightly different. They want the indentation different. They want certain things different.
Yeah, that's the local rules that I was talking about.
It can't do the local rules for formatting. So it has to tell people, look, go here. This is your court. Pull it there, get the formatting, get an example and plug it in, and I'll mimic that. And that's all it can do. It just can't format it. That's the only thing. But that's good, because people need to at least learn how to format, bro. You'll be all right. It's not that much learning. You got all the main work.
Absolutely.
Right? Especially if they're going in with a due process, angle. The judge, the prosecutor, they're not going to mess with you on a due process angle. They're going to be like, shit, well, case dismissed. Leave them alone. Let's move on. And they're not going to feel disrespected. And I think that's the best way to give everyone, the amount of, you want to treat people like you want to be treated, be Christ-like, show them what it feels like to kick their ass in a nice, polite way, because they're not going to be mad at you for it. They're going to be like, yeah, let them go.
They'll be like, hey, shit, hats off to you. That was a pretty
Listen,
yeah, man, I love it.
I just had a really good idea. So we're at about two hours and 5 minutes. I have an idea. Why don't we do
What are you talking about? Wow.
It's been 2 hours already.
Bardi's a long talker. Keep going, brother.
Listen, if I didn't have to work tomorrow, I'll fucking pull an all-nighter with you guys, and I'm not even on cocaine right now. So listen, I just had a really good idea.
Mexico, we'll have to ship you some, Steve.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll take an Uber down to Mexico, get me some real blow, and then I'll jog home. It'll be fine.
Terrible.
No.
All right.
So here's my proposition.
The exit.
All right, Jude. I'm assuming. I listen. This was fantastic. I'm assuming you would have no issue coming back on, because I had a really good idea that I think you're gonna like. I still have some questions.
Hey, I appreciate that.
No, this is great. So listen, I still have some questions I want to get to, but I'm going to put these off. What I think we should do with this, Kenny, let me book another show with Jude, but let's do another demo show with the due process defender with Jude. Let's do this in real time. So you got the due process defender.
Okay. I'd love to kick the tires on that live.
No, that'd be a lot of fun to just get you guys kind of.
You're gonna be like, holy shit, Kenny.
No, but it'll
absolutely.
Be wild.
It's what I was saying earlier. I love it, Steve, because it's what I was saying earlier. We die in this movement, in this freedom community. We fail at procedure, and what Kenny built answers that question. Yeah, it answered it.
This is what I think it'll be friggin' awesome to get back together, but actually do a demo with the app while we're live with a lawyer who's got 28, nearly 30 years experience under the belt, just to kind of like, let's do real-time feedback and what's going on. So I'm going to hold off. I had maybe 15 more questions. I'm going to hold this off, but Jude, why don't we talk maybe tomorrow later this week?
Damn,
oh, yeah, I lined them up. I didn't even get to him.
Steve dragging us out.
I was well, here's the thing. I enjoy being a podcast host, but it's mostly male guests. And I sexually come on to virtually all of them, so I waste a lot of airtime.
Okay, well, I'm glad to know it wasn't me that brought that out of you, bro.
No, I'm going to tell you right now. When it comes to filthy, degenerate, X-rated thoughts, nobody pulls that out of me. It falls out of me. So it's. No, but listen, I
Oozes, man.
yeah. Some people perspire because they're hot. I just sweat bad, inappropriate jokes. Is really what it comes down to. So I think that'd be fucking
Damn it,
awesome.
Steve. All right.
I think that'd be awesome to do another demo
Yeah,
with the
we'll
app.
definitely
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that.
I'm all for it.
Because I would love to see. I'd love to record Jude's reaction
Me
to the
too.
app and get his input. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
So
I think we should have Jude doing it and let Jude explain it, because he's gonna know the proper lingo, and just let him
Yes.
plug in a case, and just put in a case and just go through it, because you know every step, and a lot of people don't know like what the next step is, and you do. So you're like, okay, and you can type in literally every next step, and it'll just, and you can always say like, educate me on this. I don't understand this or comprehend this, and it'll be like, and you're gonna be like,
Right.
holy fuck.
Yeah. Now, one caveat: I've done very few criminal cases. I actually am
What-
handling,
Do whatever you want. Any case
Yeah,
you want.
but you know, I do a lot of civil. However, on the criminal side, yeah, I know procedure there. I'm just not. That's not my bailiwick.
It's for
Either way,
anything.
though, it'll be awesome to just
Yeah.
kind of walk through and discover how this tool works.
Yeah, it's for anything. It's civil, criminal, IRS. It doesn't
I
matter.
got confused.
CPS.
Dude, I love it. That's innovation at its finest. At its finest.
yeah, I just got really confused. I thought when he said I don't handle criminal, I thought he meant because he knows I'm a criminal and I'm gonna get in trouble at some point. I didn't realize he was.
You're not a criminal.
I knew enough to say, Steve, from now on, just plead the fifth before you
Yeah.
and I talk. So,
Steve-
you know, there's that.
Steve's jokes are criminal.
I have taught
Dude,
myself. No, go ahead.
I mean, I've never seen anybody so masterfully keep everything so, you know, adding levity with such fluidity and consistency. I love it, bro.
Well, you know what? Listen, I'm going to be completely honest with you, because I've been hosting podcasts since I think 2018 was when I started my first podcast. And one thing, and I don't listen to podcasts. I genuinely don't. I don't know what prompted me. Honestly, I don't watch or listen to podcasts, but when I do, what I find is when there's like dead space or the conversation drags or it's just a dry conversation, in my head as I'm listening, I'm like, oh, I would have made a joke about this. I would have made a joke about, and it just kind of gives like a little bit of levity to the situation. And it's good to laugh. Like,
That's
you know,
awesome.
when you're talking with
I
somebody,
love it, man.
I want to pull more than one emotion out of somebody. I want it to be educational, informative, enlightening, caring, funny. I want each show to have its own level of all of these things. I think it just makes it more fun for the listener.
It's fantastic.
So,
Well, listen, it is. I mean, this is my first time doing a podcast. It's my first time with you guys. But, you know, it creates a sort of symbiosis among the three of us where we each have that personality. We have that, you know, and it's all kind of this great opportunity to just create rapport and bring your audience in. I think this probably resonates with a lot of people because it's not like heavy-handed and like all kinds of bullshit. It's a fun time, and I appreciate being a part of it. Thank you, guys.
No, please, that
thank
was a
you.
blast.
I appreciate it too, Steve.
You know, listen, I've been dying for this, and I don't know. I'm almost slightly embarrassed because it took me so long to reach out to Weiss and Associates to find out. You know, if I reached out and Michelle got back to me, and I'm like, hey, listen, you know, we've referred some people over to you. I'm like, we'd love to have you guests on the show to talk about what it is you do and your process. And Michelle was just like, look, she goes, I'm swamped right now. She goes, and then she gave me Jude's information. So, and look, we all believe the universe speaks to us in certain ways. I don't think it was any mistake whatsoever that we're here right now. I genuinely don't. So, no, I think this is very serendipitous, and I think we should absolutely have Jude back on again. I think it'd be cool.
Do it again.
Yeah, I'd like to see him interact with the app. But I also think I also think this might be an opportunity. And I don't want to put you on the spot, Jude. But I think this would be something where we can have you on as a regular guest, and we can have I can field questions from people. You know what I mean? Have people either write in or come into like a chat room and just kind of pick your brain or pick the app's brain. And it's all exposure. It's like a big networking event.
Listen, I'm happy to do what you guys want to do. We barely scratched the surface today. There's a lot more to be discussed. We talked about some theory, some philosophy, certain things like that. But there's so much that we could still excavate out of this. I'm happy to do that. Well, you know, let's keep it open.
No, that'll be fun. All right, so we're going to end on this. I want one funny fact about both of you that you don't want people to know. And Kenny, don't mention your micro penis.
That's terrible, Steve. I've been holding a fart this whole time, but now it's not
All
wanting
right.
to come out. That's a problem.
Okay.
Shit, that's a bad one. Jeez.
I'm like, come
Well,
on.
listen, the good news is we can only go up
let's
from
see.
there.
We can only move up from that for sure. Damn, a funny fact. Yeah, I didn't pass the bar exam in California the first time I took it.
Really?
That's kind of funny. Yeah, didn't pass.
Well, I heard
first
it's
time.
also no
So
joke.
I was first bar licensed in Wisconsin, where I went to law school. Then back in New Mexico, my home state, took the bar exam. You just assume you passed it. I prepared for like a week, so I was a real I must have been going into the California bar exam. I thought it's going to be a breeze, and it's the fucking hardest exam in the country, along with New York. It's a 3-day fucking exam. So I think it's kind of funny because the bar examiners wanted to tell me I couldn't practice law in this state. And I said, fuck you guys. I'm going to practice wherever the damn well I please. And I took the bar exam and passed the bar exam, notwithstanding the bar examiners of California.
That's awesome.
So
I don't know.
Right, so
I think that's kind of funny, don't you?
Yeah.
No, it's very funny and ironic.
It's
so
not a
Jude
fart.
went professional.
Yeah.
No, so Kenny went physical. Jude went
keep
career. I'll tell a funny dating story. I'll say 25 years ago, I got set up on a blind date with the New England Patriots cheerleading coach. We were out on a date, and I forget who I ran into, but I went to introduce him, whoever I ran into at the time. I went to introduce him to, I remember it now, Allie. When I went to I introduced her and gave him the wrong name. I introduced her as somebody else. And she abruptly called her friend and had her come pick her up, and I was left at the restaurant by myself. So, note to self, it's very important to know the name of the individual you're on a date with. So,
Man, aren't you going to a wedding where you don't even know who you're going to be with?
wait, hold on.
You gotta learn, man.
I get these names.
I do. I've had several. I've had 5 concussions that I known about. Oh my god!
Known about. That's hard. Names are hard. Steve's probably a face person.
I am terrible with names. Like it's just so bad. Like I don't remember names.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm a face person.
well.
I'm like, I see your face, I know you forever. Even if you play a different movie role, I'm like, I know that's the same guy from back when we used to. I do miss watching all those funny movies. That's for sure. Even though I'm like, fucking pedophiles. I know you.
I'm everything is code for me. Everything is like a revelation.
Yes.
See, that's the whole reason this movie was for that spot at the 49th minute. These fuckers. Yeah.
So listen,
close it down, Mr.
All right. So, by the way,
say?
Jude, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. I forget how many podcasts ago we were talking about. They came out with a movie. This is how I know this movement is gaining momentum. Hollywood in 2025 came out with a movie called Sovereign, starring Dennis Quaid. I forget the actor's name from Parks and Rec, the guy with the mustache, but it's a movie that came out based on a true story about a sovereign citizen, but it's completely painting the sovereign piece of it as like this man-made fiction, like complete bullshit and blah blah blah. I highly recommend you check it out. It's just called Sovereign.
Like a bad dude.
But the point I brought up when I brought this up,
the cops shoot the dad or shit. Like,
yes,
I haven't watched it. I've only seen a clip, and I was
if
like,
you
I ain't
watch,
watching
if you
that
go on
propaganda.
YouTube,
But they
just type
did
in
shoot the dad.
They did Sovereign trailer,
But the traffic stop.
Yes,
Sovereign.
Just go to YouTube, type in Sovereign trailer, or I'll send it to you if you want. But either way, the reason I bring that up is when Hollywood starts making noise to the contrary, then I feel like you're making an impact. Because that is such a fringe thing, being a sovereign citizen or a state national, or but now Hollywood is acknowledging, they're trying to bring it to people's attention, be like, oh, this is fake, this is bullshit, don't do this. They're trying to downplay it. That's how I know this movement is growing. It's
and like I said, I'm not afraid of the word sovereign. I don't use it in my material because it is a lightning rod for the IRS and all the goons. But the fact of the matter is, that's exactly what we are. Everything that I describe in my methodology, my paperwork, is a sovereign individual that is not subject to the whims of Congress or governments. like the whole of the American, jurisprudence and governance is to protect the likes of me, a person of free conscience and liberties, or freedoms. I don't want to call them liberties, but that's the definition of a sovereign.
Mm-hmm. All right. So what we'll do is we'll end on that. And Jude, before we go, why don't you let the viewers and listeners know how they can get in touch with you or where they can find more information regarding your program?
Awesome. Thank you for that, Steve. And thank you for the invitation. Kenny, thank you for having me on as well. Mm-hmm. You can find more information about me and what I'm doing at CPIR-USA.org. That's ORG. So www.cpir-usa.org. And go to the, if you want to find out what my offerings are, there's a page for what's called the Self-Governance Protocol, SGP. Self-Governance Protocol stands for just that, how we can become self-governed and step out of the world's jurisdiction, out of commercial Babylon, and take ownership of our own private lives and try and have as little to do with commercial Babylon as possible while we still have to use their dollar bills. You'll see that there's a video there. It's about 45 minutes long. Steve was referencing it, but it's got information about what my offerings are for the self-governance protocol.
All right, awesome. Perfect. Kenny, any parting wisdom?
That is, Steve?
That's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. And like I said, so I didn't even get to your fee schedule or your protocol itself. What I'm going to do is I want to hold on to that because we have at least a whole nother 2-hour episode of another podcast, particularly with having you kind of take a peek at that due process defender. So I'm going to I'm going to have you run through. We'll do that next time. And then we'll also cover your actual protocol where you could walk somebody through it from A to Z if you want. Like I said, I don't want you to.
That's awesome.
Okay. All right.
No. Hey, I'm open. I'm fluid to whatever we're doing. Like, I feel like we're here for a season and time. Synchronicities brought us together. God brought us together. So yeah. I'm open to do however you guys lead, brother.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Kenny, any shameless plugs this week?
No, just if you want the world to change, be the change you want to see. It's real simple. That's what we say. It says it on the background. It's written on the shirt that I wear this every day. I try to get it every day. I've been wearing like collared shirts to look more nice because I've been wearing this every day for years. And I'm like, it's cool to keep the message, but I'm like, I gotta dress how I like. I've just been doing this so long.
That's crazy. That corporate mentality. Dress for the job you want, not the job you have.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm going to share some parting wisdom, then I'll let you do the same. Mine is do not eat yellow snow. I learned that a long time ago.
Man, that's a good one. I cannot top that. That's about the top of my list as well. But hey, there's a reason stuff like this resonates with us, and I bet it resonates with your audience. And the reason is we are spiritual beings first, just like Tesla's electrical current. We are a body of mass that is dead without electrical current first. The spirit within us is that electrical current. We are spiritual in nature first. Don't let commercial Babylon fucking tell you otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Amen. All right. Good perfect. One. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Kenny, always a pleasure. Jude, hang tight. I'm going to hit stop. Don't get off the call yet. But everyone, for another episode of the SNR podcast, I'm Steve. Kenny is the owner / HNIC. Jude is our new backup plan when all else fails, and we're about to go to prison. So thank you for that. We will talk to you soon. Have a great and a blessed week.
Please, that's so funny.
All right, so it's done. It's done recording.
This has been the SNR podcast, where freedom for the mind, body, and soul takes center stage. Our goal is to break down the system and expose the truth, and to give you tools to heal, like meditation and breath work. And at the center of it all, we're having a blast. On behalf of Kenny, Steve, Ashley, and Gwendolyn, we thank you so much for coming over, and we hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But learn how to find us over on Linktree at State Nationals Rock. See you next time on the SNR Podcast.